Everything you could want in a racing venue. Truly a beautiful backdrop. It's the perfect stage for the stars of Grand Am's GT classes to shine. If you're a race fan, this very well could be heaven. But if you're a driver, you'd better be ready to give it hell. The lightning-fast turns of Lime Rock invite the drivers of Grand Am to get real friendly in a series already known for its very close racing. It's serendipity at its best at this Never Never land of racetracks. Grand Am GT racing from Lime Rock Park is next. Welcome to Lime Rock Park in the beautiful hills of northwestern Connecticut for Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series action here on Speed Vision. I'm Rick Benjamin, joined by David Murray, one of America's great GT racers, and we're at beautiful Lime Rock Park today. The weather has been the story all weekend long. David, it's great to have you with us. It has started to rain very hard again here just in the last half hour.
Well, it's great to be here at Lime Rock. I appreciate you guys having me here. It's going to be an action-packed day, and strategy is going to be a big part of this race because with the rain, the cars probably won't even have to stop for fuel. 2 drivers, you get bonus points. 1 you don't. What do you do?
There will be a lot of strategy played out here today. The weather has turned sharply worse just in the last little bit of time. The teams are buckled up. The drivers are ready to go on the front straightaway here at Lime Rock Park. Now, David, as wet as it is, what will be the keys to success here today?
Well, staying on the track for one. And that's going to be difficult because turns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of them have concrete strips that are just like ice in the wet. So it's going to be really, really slippery. The diving turn on the front straightaway, not any concrete strips to speak of, but definitely slippery on the inside. Passing to be super treacherous.
Now this is a relatively short track, as you can see, 1.54 miles. Very fast downhill through the diving turn on the front straightaway here. We've been watching some preliminary races today. A lot of cars have gone off course. There's standing water in many places, and as we say, it has just started to rain very hard once again. 31 GT machines about ready to roll away here at Lime Rock Park. We'll go about 125 miles today as the teams prepare to roll away and get started. We'll show you the starting lineup in a moment. Of course, we've got GTS equipment here, GT category cars, and American GT machines. Plenty of Porsches here. There's the 15 of Kim Hiskey, involved in a huge wreck just several days ago at Watkins Glen. We'll have more on that a little later. The Ford All Motorsports Celine, that beautiful 5-car, David Murray, one of the fastest cars in American GT competition.
Absolutely. That car is a pure race car built just for racing purposes. They're also marketing for the street. It's going to be a great street car. I mean, that's your ultimate dream.
And then at the back of the field, we've got some cars that ought to be very quick. In fact, Stu Hayner is here, and he will line up shotgun on the field, and Frank Ciappatini's Camaro, the 36 car. Andrew Copperell will start that machine. Let's talk a little bit about the team strategy. Some teams, as we watch the 41 car come in during reconnaissance laps a few moments ago, this car, which qualified 7th, that's Ron Ferris out of Lynchburg, Virginia, he went off course, and they had to hook that car off the racetrack just at the head of No Name straightaway, turn 4, at the back end of the racetrack here. You've got 2 drivers. Do you pit? Do you put your second driver in? What do you think most of these teams will try to accomplish?
Well, I tell you that the strategy this week, this is going to be very difficult because they say if you don't use 2 drivers, then the guys that have been running all season long are trying to get points. One of those guys goes home without points. Do you give that up for the chance to maybe win a race, or do you say, you know what, we're going for the championship, we're going to go out there and get these bonus points and do that? The other thing to think about, no sports racers this week. We're running separate races, so the sports racers aren't going to lap. The GTS cars aren't going to lap as fast as the GT cars or as fast as the sports racers were, so you don't run the risk of going to lap down as much as you would.
And of course, wet weather handling will be the key. Everybody on rain tires just declared a wet race at Lime Rock a long time ago. Grand Am officials now clearing the grid. The engines have fired here. We'll take you through the starting grid in just a couple of moments, but the front row be very competitive. You've got Larry Schumacher on the pole in his Porsche GT1 machine there, and then you've got the Celine, the 5-car alongside. It'll be a great battle to turn 1. Let's take you through the starting lineup for today's action here at Lime Rock Park. Larry Schumacher will share the 99 with Gunnar Jeanette in that GT1, and they are on the pole at GTS. The dominant car in GTS this year has been the Celine. Chris Bingham will start the car. Ron Johnson will share with him in that beautiful S7R machine. Next row lines up like this. Spencer Pogvelli and Steve Ivankovich. That's a Porsche GT3R. They're the pole sitters in GT. Jack Willis will start and run all by himself today. And the Comer Racing Corvette, they are the pole sitters in the American GT category out of 4 cars. Randy Popes is back to team with Kim Hiskey, and we'll talk more about Kim Hiskey's huge wreck. That's in GT, and they will line up in the 3rd row with Kenny Buff and John Levy in their number 11 red Camaro. Ron Ferris, you saw the 41. He went off track during the reconnaissance laps. He will drop to the back of the pack now after going off the course. Eric Curran and Peter Moorhauser will share a Ford Mustang in American GT. The 5th row, Craig Conway and Doug Goad in their Team Fliss Corvette, the 09. They've had a problem-filled year, but they've still been the fastest car in AGT. Matt Dredlow will start the 81 for G&W Motorsports. Darren Law will get in early, we expect, in the GT category. Let's take a look at the next 10 starters. You've got a host of faces. Paul Alderman in the 65 car. You've got Buckler in the 66. Some great drivers here. Johannes van Overbeek is here to start 17th in the 80 car. And Terry Borchler and Tony Jennings will share the number 54 BMW. Looking at the next group of 10 cars, Kurt Wagner in the 07, one of the G&W Porsches with Steve Marshall. Bill Oberlin will jump in with Rick Fairbanks in their BMW, the 10 car. Oberlin making his 2nd start of the year. Kerry Hitt in American GT in the 46. And there's the 36 at the back of the pack. Stu Hayner in the 36 along with Andrew Cockrell, who will start that car. Now last week at Watkins Glen, the GT cars and the prototypes ran together. The prototype number 6 got into the 15 Porsche. Kim Hiskey. Hiskey was injured. The driver of the 6 car, Brent Sherman, was okay. He flipped. You can see Sherman looking around, but Hiskey suffered some injuries. Track safety workers got there. They removed her on the backboard. Guy Hobbs, what's the situation with Kim Hiskey in that 15 car?
Well, just 1 week later after that horrendous crash, we are with Kim, and Kim, not too many injuries, just a sore foot.
Just a sore foot, but it's better now. Feels great, ready to drive.
All right, we look forward to seeing you in the 15 car. Randy Popps will start. Back to you, Rick.
Good to see Kim Hiskey in shape to compete here this weekend. One of the other teams that had a troubled weekend as we watched the 00 Mustang come on to pit road. Eric Curran driving in that car. This is at Daytona back in February. One of the prototype 2 cars got loose coming up onto the banking. Doug Goad and Craig Conway, their 09 machine, got into that car. Heavy damage there. Last week, Goad driving the 09. He didn't see John Field coming up alongside, and the 37 got into the wall. Sandy Hang, the 09 team, has been busy all week repairing that car.
Well, and thankfully, most of that damage was cosmetic. They say there is nothing wrong with the car. In fact, this car is faster than its starting position indicates, so watch it and watch this team. They changed the transmission in 12 minutes the last race, so they'll be doing things later today.
That is a great team, David Murray, and you were saying earlier you thought the 09 might be a contender for an overall victory here this weekend.
Well, I think it sure will be, and depending on when they do the driver changes as well, but I think they're going to do a driver change pretty early on, and they're both great drivers. With the rain, I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Now, one team that you've got a lot of thoughts about, I know, the G&W Motorsports team, the 81 car, Matt Drendel and Darren Law. You've shared that car with them at Watkins Glen. How strong will they be today as they come from the 5th row?
You can never count out G&W. Matt Drendel and Darren Law are wonderful, excellent drivers. The team is so organized. They think things through, every aspect of it. And I think Matt Drendel, Darren Law, both team players, they're going to do what it takes to win this race.
So Drendel may not drive for very long. In fact, one of the thoughts that many of the teams have is that with the hard rain that we're having and the water on the course, the 00 team still working on that Mustang. This will be their first start with that car in GT competition in Grand Am this year. Some drivers may only take a lap or two if there's an early caution, come in, get out of the car, and perhaps the more experienced driver then would take over. And you see here how hard it is raining. Lights are out on the Dodge Viper pace car here at Lime Rock. The pace car heads in. Larry Schumacher on the pole in the Porsche.
Watch the water spray.
Bingham alongside in the Saline. Green flag is out, and we're underway here at Lime Rock.
It's incredible, the water spray from all these cars it puts up. If you're in one of the front cars, not a problem to see. But with the aerodynamic cars today, that water just sucks in the windows, which there are no windows in these cars, right or left. So it just goes right inside, covers the inside of the windshield. You can't see anything.
Chris Bingham out to an early lead, and you can see how everybody's tiptoeing here through the corners. And watch Bingham slide out of the lead and off the racetrack in the 5 car. We should see a lot of that here this afternoon. He gets it refired. He'll try to creep back out on the racetrack. Any damage to the car, do you think?
No, I don't think there's any damage to the car. That track is so slippery. You know, the concrete patches like ice. Well, off the concrete patches, nearly the same situation. It's just so slippery, it doesn't take anything to spin the car, but fortunately, that won't cause any damage unless they go off and hit something.
Now, they are using the Morton chicane, which leads to the backstretch here at Lime Rock Park.
There are the concrete patches you can see. You watch the cars, putting their left tires just on the outside, or their outside tires on the outside of the concrete. That's the loaded tires. That's to keep the cars from sliding as much as possible.
Down through West Bend to the downhill turn in the front straightaway. And Larry Schumacher rides second in the 99 car. He was the pole sitter. Second in this group at any rate. Spencer Pumpelly has taken the early lead though in the 34 car. He's gotten around Schumacher. The 75 car moves to third spot. And there's Jack Willis in the 18. And the 09. Doug Goad starting the 09. No, he'll tag team the 09. Craig Conway is in that car at the start. So you've got Willis, a Camaro in the middle, and then Conway as they battle for position in American GT.
Yeah, they're going to take their time and work their way back up. I think they had a relatively soft setup, but maybe they're going to stick with that setup, hoping that it's going to rain, which it did. And it looks like they're working out pretty good for them.
Paul Alderman is in that 65, that yellow Camaro in the middle of the group. Alderman, an experienced driver. He's raced in Trans Am.
If you watch these cars, the development of pass trying to take effect, you can't just say, I'm going to pass somebody like I normally would. You pull the inside, watch the concrete so slippery, you can't bury it in as deep as you'd like to. So it's pretty difficult to pass in these conditions, and if you're in front, you can see better as well.
Heading to the front straightaway, Schumacher in the 99 is still second. He was your pole sitter, and Randy Popes in the 15 car. Taking to the outside, looking for a way by that Porsche.
Well, this camera angles really show you what it looks like inside the car. You see the mist, you can't tell if a car is right in front of you or if it's way down the straightaway.
Spencer Pumpelly in the 34. He's an instructor at the Skip Barber Driving School here at Lime Rock. He's got a lot of track time here, knows the place well. He's your leader. Randy Popes takes the 15 to second around Schumacher now. As we watch these cars work through the S's and start toward the backstretch, Schumacher just tiptoeing around in the 99. We're early in the going at Lime Rock. We'll be back. Back at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut, the Great American Rolex Sports Car Series here on Speed Vision. GT action today, a little different format here at Lime Rock this weekend. The GT cars running separately. The prototypes will run separately later in the weekend, and you'll see that as well here on Speed Vision. Up in front, great battling between several of the Porsches in GT. Spencer Pumpelly has been the early leader. Randy Popes in the 15 car chasing him for the top spot in the early going. We're very early. You can see Popes with his visor up there through the window as they come down the front straightaway here at Lime Rock to put the early laps on the board. Popes lapping some of the slower cars. Leo Hindery in the 43, one of the Orbit Racing Porsches. There's Pumpelly on the outside of the 34. Popes in the 15. They've got an odd setup, it appears, David, in that car. You can see the car bouncing coming around the last turn onto the front stretch.
Absolutely. Popes is on a mission right now, and the car's probably pretty soft. They probably gambled on the wet setup, although it's bouncing a bit. You would think it would absorb the bumps a little bit more. But that's their way of trying to put the power down, and with the wet, you've got less grip, so you have to have a bit more roll so the tire can dig into the pavement and get a little grip.
Now you see the 5 car, the Saleen, that qualified on the outside pole here. The leader's lapping him. Now remember that Bingham led through the first couple of corners here today, spun off the course, got out in the mud, came back on the track and didn't lose a lap, but he's very slow compared to the rest of the field.
And that could be, we saw him go off in the second corner of the course, so the beginning of the race. So that could be his car is so stiff, it's great in the dry and very fast, which we saw in qualifying 4,000ths off the pole. But in the wet, it's not going to be very good. And these cars that have a little softer suspension, a little narrower tire is going to be a little better in the wet.
Of course, these cars, the GT machines, have less power as well. Would it be an advantage today, as slick as it is, to have a little less power to work with?
Well, I tell you, having the engine in the back really helps brake and put the power down, because the weight transfer works in your advantage to that. You use all 4 tires to brake, weights in the back to put the acceleration down, just like a dragster. Larry
Schumacher of the Porsche GT1 runs third. He was a pole sitter here in much different weather conditions, you'll recall. And trouble down into turn 1, the 36 car. That's the car that Stu Hainer will climb in a little later. Frank Ciappatini's Camaro being driven by Andrew Copperell at the moment. He was getting lapped by the leaders, spun briefly there in turn 1, gets it gathered up and goes off in the correct direction now. But there you see Schumacher rolling by in third spot. Jack Willis runs fourth in American GT, and we had talked earlier a moment about how some of the American GT cars, like the 09 of Conway and Goad, perhaps the 18 of Willis, may have a shot at an overall win here today, which would be amazing.
Absolutely. If they can stay in contention, make the driver change, and some of the guys like Willis, who's not even going to do a driver change, well, he may even have to come in the pits for fuel. He shouldn't, because with the wet and this type of track is not a high horsepower track, you're not drinking the fuel.
And we've had a lead change. Randy Pope's getting by Spencer Pumpelly's machine to take over. Looks like Pumpelly may have a problem in that 34 car. He is slow on the inside of the track coming downhill. That's the car you see, the 34 machine. Spencer Pumpelly starting for Zip Pumpelly Racing.
Does he have a left rear flat?
Could be a tire down indeed. Looks like Spencer's going to head to pit road here in the early going.
Yeah, it's difficult to see with all the mist, but he may have a tire gone down. Obviously something. Yeah,
he sure does have a left rear down. Pumpelly on pit road, Dunlop rubber on that machine. Let's take another look here. Coming toward West Bend. Looks like he got bunted maybe in the chicane there.
Looks like it may have been flat before that point. Yeah, it's already there. You don't know if that caused it or if maybe it occurred before that or picked up something in a slow leak.
As soft as the tires are that these machines use, if there's any debris on the track, sometimes that can be enough to cut down a tire. Doesn't take much.
And the problem with the rain driving is you don't drive on the normal dry line because it's so polished and slippery. So your normal rain line would be around the edge, which in the dry is where all the debris comes from.
Sandy Hain, good pit stop. That's it.
Absolutely as quick as it can be. Look at that left rear tire. They're taking a look at it right now. A costly move for them, but they're definitely out of the way.
That could either be or it could be a curve that he ran over. You just don't know what caused that, but it obviously wasn't something that picked up.
Sure. Bent rim there, obviously the problem for Pumpelly in the 34 machine, and that was the reason the tire came down. Kenny Bupp in the 11 car doing a nice job. They were running up toward the front. They qualified well, but now they've dropped back to 19th spot in American GT, and they are 4th, in fact, in AGT. As we take a look at the 63 car, one of the other competitors in AGT here this weekend, the Bielhars and Liss machine. They're back in 22nd spot of the 31 starters.
We get reports now that the 50 car got into the 34 car in the chicane. That's what bent the rim. So, it might take a look at the 50 car and see if there's damage to that car.
We'll keep an eye on that as we watch Larry Schumacher, who's up to 2nd spot now after Pumpelly's problem. Sandy, what else is the 34 team saying about what happened out there?
Well, that's exactly what they believe happened. They'd say the 50 car would not get over, at least that's what the driver is telling them now on the radios, would not get over. There was contact, and that's what resulted.
Andy Hadjicky starting in the 50 car today, and if that was contact between those two, I'm sure they'll have a word for Andy when things quiet down here a little bit. But Randy Popes has taken the Ford All Motorsports Porsche to the lead here in GT competition at Lime Rock Park. We'll take a timeout and be right back for more. Speed Vision. Welcome back to Lime Rock. It has been a rain-soaked early part of our GT category battle today, part of the Lime Rock Grand Prix weekend in the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series. I'm Rick Benjamin, joined this weekend by GT superstar David Murray. David, sorry you're not running, but we're thrilled to have you with us. Guy Hobbs and Sandy Hain are on pit road for us. We've seen tons of action today. We're going to show you just a little bit of what we've had in the first 15 or so laps here today. Spencer Pumpelly took the early lead in the 34 car, one of the GT Porsches, but since then he's had a lot of problems, including this spin where he was just along for the ride coming down the hill.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's because of the accident he had earlier. See the bent wheel, another one on the right side. So whether they changed that one or maybe that happened during the incident as well.
The 34 car was very quick. The 50 machine, the Boduck Racing Porsche, broke something on the left front corner of that car. It looks like a control arm perhaps, and they fueled the car and made a driver change. Didn't realize they had a problem. Had to come back on the pit road, and it looks like their afternoon may be done here. And one of the big surprises, the very fast Celine, the 5 car, Chris Bingham and Ron Johnson, they stopped on the course several times after starting on the front row. Looks like they've got a wet ignition system.
Yeah, we used to run the open cockpit cars with the exact same problem. There's so much water, and particularly with a new car, you never know where those problems are going to surface.
Now, several of the drivers obviously not adapting well to the extreme wet conditions. There you see the 5 with Chris Bingham. They lost 26 positions out of 31. Kenny Bupp falling back. The 00 Mustang, Paul Alderman, and Andy Hideki. You saw him a moment ago with problems in that 50 car. Guy Hobbs is in the Celine pit.
A very wet Celine pit. The problem originally was water in the electric box, and that's what caused them to have the electrical problems. That led to the fogging up of the window, which meant that Chris Bingham couldn't see. And then they lost the motor, and now they still can't refire the motor, and they've just gone in, started changing all the spark plugs at the back there. But things get even worse for this team, because the guy changing the plugs, his headset and his radio communications to the crew, that's so wet he can't hear what he's being instructed to do either, so he's having to go back and ask the crew chief what to do. Chris Bingham, in the meantime, just sits patiently in the car, waiting to try and get that Celine back out on the track if they can get this thing started. I'll send it back up now to my colleague Sandy Henk further down the pit lane.
Well, I'm with Matt Drendel right now, and I was teasing Matt. You needed swimming lessons out there. How bad was it?
I tell you, it's the worst I've ever seen. I've driven on snow and ice that had more traction than that.
Compare it to Phoenix.
Oh, this is twice as bad as Phoenix.
Are there certain spots that are more difficult to maneuver when it's raining, torrential rains like we're seeing now? And are you seeing water accumulating in any of the corners?
I tell you, the downhill is unreal. I mean, not only is there almost no visibility, but the traction is just, there's no traction at all. And turn one's really bad too.
Okay, thanks. That's Matt Drendel. He touched on a key element down here, visibility. Many of the teams came in simply to try to put some rain-X on their windshields, a lot of humidity inside the cockpit. It's making it difficult not only to drive, but to see.
Wow, that is a tough situation for everybody out here as you watch the G&W Porsche. Darren Law in that race car now. David, you've driven that car, and you were telling us earlier just how difficult it is with no side glass.
Well, without the side glass, the water comes in. It's not just fog. It is actually water on the inside of the windshield. We put a vent tube up the side of the A-pillar below on the windshield, which helps a bit.
Now, take a look at this machine. Rick Fairbanks, the team owner, starting the 10th car, the National Paintball BMW. He had gotten the car up into the top 10. In fact, they're sitting at 10th spot right now. He's gotten out, and a real professional. Bill Auberland has hopped in that car, co-driving the 10 this weekend. Auberland's second time in Grand Am competition this year. They do it under caution, so they save a considerable amount of time. They don't lose a lap. I think Auberland will be a guy to watch here in the second portion of this race.
I've raced against Auberland for a year, and he is awesome, no doubt about it.
We'll take a look at how things stand as we get ready to take a timeout. Even the birds are looking for a dry place to go here at Lime Rock. Welcome back to Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series here on Speed Vision. GT action for you today, part of the Lime Rock Grand Prix. I'm Rick Benjamin with David Murray on pit road for us, Sandy Henk and Guy Hobbs. One lap to go till we restart in a downpour. Let's show you some of the action that's happened during this caution. Many teams deciding to go ahead and make driver changes. But David Murray, this may have been a mistake on the part of the then race leaders, Randy Popes and Kim Hiskey. Popes down, Hiskey in. What did they do?
Well, they made a stop. They have to make a driver change at some point in time. They felt like this would be the best opportunity. Otherwise, she's got to drop into green conditions before she gets points. So, did they give the points up? I don't know.
The Celine has been retired. You saw it get pushed behind the wall. Larry Schumacher was in the lead in his Porsche GT1 after the move by Randy Popes to come to pit road. He is out. Gunnar Jeanette is in. Apparently, Jeanette will finish in the 99. And that leaves this one in the hands of Jack Willis in America GT. Willis in the 18 car will be your restart leader. And we said at the top of the broadcast, if you recall, an AGT machine could well contend for the overall victory. Willis will have the restart pole. He is soloing here today, not in contention for the Drivers' Championship. Among the drivers on the move up, Terry Borchler has gotten into Tony Jennings' BMW. They are now third. They've gained 16 spots. Jennings, the team owner of Jet Engineering, they did a great job. Jennings did a wonderful job at the start, kept the car on the racetrack, moved up substantially, and then under caution, he got out and let one of the great pros in GT racing in this country, Terry Borchler, climb aboard that Jet Enterprises machine. George Papadopoulos has gained a lot of ground as well. Several other drivers moving up in this rainstorm because, frankly, it's a strategy situation. Some teams stopping, others not stopping, some stopping more than once. We've had both the Mosler and the Celine with motor problems in the wet weather.
Well, and that comes from just the new car blues. You know, you do a new car, it's wonderful, but there are things like the electrical system that's going to cause you problems, catch you off guard.
There is Willis, your restart leader in the 18. Now the 71 car. Jack Lewis's machine, that's a Porsche GT3 Cup car. Lewis and Keith Fisher sharing that car, and we believe that Fisher is still on board that machine. They will restart second. Terry Borcholo will restart third. Kim Hiskey will restart fourth in the 15. We're expecting a restart this time by Willis in the 18. Now he's got the brakes on. Let's see what this is going to mean. Safety car dives in. Green should be in the air this time by. And we are running rapidly out of time here at Lime Rock Park in this event, which could go to time or could be an 82-lap race. We're still not sure. 32 laps are on the board. It's pretty safe to say they will not go the full 82 laps here today. And there is Willis in the 18. Borchler to second. And look at Bill Auberland in the 10 car. When the green came out, unofficially, he has gained 6 spots. Now here's Borchler trying to get by Willis for the lead.
Well, it's very important, too, for Bill Arblin, more important than anybody else, to get in front of that 18 car of Jack Willis to get his lap back under another yellow and have a chance at the win for this race.
How tough is it to pass in these very rainy conditions?
It's incredibly difficult because they're driving where the grip is. That's why they're going as fast as they can go. If you pass, you have to go off of that line.
Up the back straightaway, up the hill. Borchelor to the inside of Willis. Borchelor gets that BMW by Willis to take over the lead. But here comes Oberlin in a very similar car, although they don't have the same motor in that machine.
Now, that's going to be a tougher place for him to pass, although that car should be great in the wet, and it is. There you go.
Oberlin in the National Paintball 10 down the final corner, under the bridge and down the short straightaway to the final right-hand corner onto the front stretch. Borchelor leading. Oberlin is second. Now, Oberlin has driven a Speed Vision World Challenge machine to victory here already this weekend in these conditions, so he knows what the racetrack is all about.
That's going to help him tremendously get in the car and go quicker. He'll save a few laps. He knows where the line is, where the grip is. Very important for him to get out front of the 18 car. Now he is. He's got to get in front of Terry Borchelor now. Otherwise, he's just going to be a lap down.
Oberlin to the inside, coming through turn 1 and 2, but Borchelor closes the door. That's Terry Borchelor in the blue and silver 54. Oberlin in the white and red machine. They've got a slower car in front of them, the 43.
Neither one of those BMWs have ABS. 54 car, Terry Borchelor has a V8, 6-cylinder for Oberlin. Oberlin looking at me a little bit sideways. He's trying as hard as he can. He has to get in front of that car.
John Luigi Buttoni driving the 43 now in relief of Leo Hindery, and he is staying out in front of the two BMWs.
There's Oberlin laying back a bit, see if he can get a run. Hopefully Borchelor will get held up so he can get around, but it doesn't happen this time.
Watching the battle for the lead. Borchelor is out in front, but he can't get by the 43, which is not on the lead lap. Here they come under the bridge.
Borchelor would like to keep him behind him, but it's not as important to him to keep him back as it is for Oberlin to get around. Oberlin doesn't have a shot at the win if he doesn't do that.
Oberlin to the inside, try to make a move around the 43. The 15 car, meantime, with Kim Hiskey aboard, manages to run in 4th spot. Down the front stretch, it's still Borchelor out front of the 54. The Saleen back on the racetrack. There's Oberlin in the 10. Ron Johnson has gotten in the Saleen. They're coming out to run for points. So we're about midway through an hour and a half's worth of GT action here at Lime Rock, and we'll be back. We're back at Lime Rock Park in Lakeville, Connecticut. Rick Benjamin with David Murray topside, Guy Hobbs and Sandy Hang on pit road. GT action in the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series. Your two leaders, Terry Borchelor and Bill Oberlin, in a couple of the BMW GT category cars here at Lime Rock. It's so wet, it has poured all day long, especially since the drop of the green in this event. And that has meant that we have seen some unusual things take place. Oberlin in the 10, now being shown 1 lap down. We had him on the lead lap earlier. They're saying he is 1 lap down. He has gotten by the 54 car, and he is not yet. He's trying to as they hit turn 1.
He's still trying out the hard. Being behind him, even though he might be able to go a bit faster with the vision, it's very difficult for him to try to make that pass visually, and he has to drive off line where there's no grip. So his hope is to have lap traffic hold up Borchelor just enough, let him squeak by, and then he's got to pray for a yellow.
The G&W Racing 81 car, the Porsche that David Murray has driven this year several times. That car's a lap down as well. They were in the picture a moment ago. And here's the 15. Kim Hiskey driving this car now. And she got in the car taking over from Randy Popes. Guy Hobbs, they are 5th, and they're remaining on the lead lap.
They're 5th, and they're caught out by surprise, too. They came in, made the pit stop, and I spoke to Randy when he got out of the car, and I said, you know that Kim has to do at least 1 green flag lap. His jaw dropped to the floor. He said, no, went to talk it over with the team. Came back and told me the problem was they thought, as you know, we've been having some problems with timing and scoring. They thought they had a lap up on everybody, and that's why they brought the car in, put Kim in, and made that stop then. So that's what their problem has turned out to be. They thought they had a lap on the field.
Wow. This calculation could be very costly as we watch the G&W team drop another lap down to Borchelor here.
Yeah, that's the Porsches come with Versa springs where you can adjust them 4 positions. We can change those springs out to standard spring, but it takes longer to change those springs, so the difficulty is there's Oberlin got his lap back. He's happy about that. Now he's hoping for a yellow, which will give him a chance to work his way, but he's still got to work his way up back to the field.
Now, originally, today's race was scheduled for 82 laps or an hour 25. They changed it to the potential of a timed event earlier. Grand Am officials did when they saw what the weather conditions were. And it looks as though this race will end on time rather than lap count. So Arberlin's running out of time. He's really got about 20 minutes of racing to try to get back up into contention here.
Believe me, he knows what time it is in the car, too. That's why he was so desperate to get around Terry. And there you see the G&W car again, probably too stiffly sprung. The B&Ws are very soft, work great in the wet.
So your leader remains Borchler in the 54. Second spot belongs to the 71. This is the Porsche GT3 Cup car, Jack Lewis's machine. The 71 car being shared by Keith Fisher from Hamburg, New York. He started the car. They're not running for points. They've been in Speed Vision Cup competition with the same car this weekend.
And they'll be here all weekend. They'll be back in the race on Monday. Just changed tires. They actually changed fuel cell in this car to be legal for the GT race. Put a fuel cell in the car. But the Speed Vision race doesn't require it, but it's okay to use that. They'll change tires to the Toyota tires and run.
Field down the front straightaway here at Lime Rock into turn 1 and turn 2. The two Orbit Racing Porsches side by side there, the 42 and the 43. And here comes Doug Goad in the 09 car. Now they have been the dominant car in American GT. They're sitting 12th overall. Craig Conway started. Goad has the car up in 12th spot. They're one lap down right now.
Goat has the same mission that Bill Auburn does. He's got a little bit further to go, but he wants to get that lap back and hope for a yellow.
Take a look at the 66 car. Kevin Buckler in that machine, that blue car in GT. He and Tom McGlynn sharing the car this weekend. And here's the 99 car with Gunnar Jeanette now taking over. The 99 sits in 5th spot. The 66 riding 4th overall. According to timing and scoring, they are on the lead lap. So we'll see what Gunnar Jeanette can do now with this Porsche GT1 in GTS and for the overall victory.
That could be the flying ointment too. He goes up there and the GT battle is going on. He gets out in front. Nobody gets a lap back.
So Jeanette through the chicane, heading down the back straight toward West Bend, the downhill turn, and the start-finish line. Time running out, but Terry Borchler's got everything going his way at Lime Rock. The question is, can they do it again? Not too many people are betting against them. Plenty of action here at Lime Rock. Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series GT Series action. The 09 of Doug Goad battling with the 18 of Jack Willis. Willis 3rd overall. The 09 12th overall, not on the same lap.
Gotta get that lap
back. The 00 is in competition. There's the 71 car running 2nd overall. They're doing a great job.
He's doing a great job. I had dinner with those guys last night, and Jack Lewis is thrilled to death to be here in a Cup car. To do that in a Cup car is just phenomenal. So they've done a super job today. That car is not quite the same as a GT3R. It has a little bit less power, less track, and to do that in this, but the conditions have helped him tremendously.
Now, one of the cars that's been in contention, in fact, they were the early leaders, Randy Popes and Kim Hiskey. We told you a moment ago, Hiskey got into the car during the long caution. Randy Popes thinking all she had to do for points was to run one lap under caution and Randy could get back in the car. That's not the way the rule book reads. Kim Hiskey had to drive under green flag conditions. She's done that. She's done a good job. The car has dropped back to 12th, but they just came on pit road a few moments ago. Randy Popes is back in the machine, trying now as the laps wind down to see if he can get that car back into contention.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because making that extra stop costs him a lot of time, and there's just not a lot of time left in the race.
Talk about a team that's had highs and lows this year. They won at Phoenix. Popes driving the bulk of the race. Hiskey finishing in a driving rainstorm for the victory. Last week at Watkins Glen, we showed you how Kim Hiskey got involved in a serious incident at the S's at Watkins Glen in a tangle with a prototype car. She was injured slightly, was okay. The team rebuilt the car essentially here this week. And the 18 car, Jack Willis, the Comer Racing Corvette that was 2nd overall. Willis has spun off the track. He is mired in the muck, and this will cost him 2nd and a shot at victory.
He may get stuck. Hopefully he's still moving, but if he stops that car, he's going to have a tough time getting out.
Wow, he is in a precarious spot there. He's trying to walk the car back to the pavement, spinning the tires, trying to keep it floating. Hopefully,
close to the edge. Hopefully it won't stop.
They don't want it to stall or get bogged down in a soft spot. If he hits mud, he's dead. Willis with more than a lap, maybe 2 laps, the lead on the 09 car, the Team Fliss Corvette of Conway and Goad. But he may burn all that up right here. Slowly, he gets it back onto the asphalt, but that's it. He's hung up.
Yeah, he's got to get those rear tires on. If it were a front-wheel drive car, he'd be okay.
Yeah.
Jack had a great run last October in Vegas in the Trans Am race. He started dead last and finished all the way up to 3rd place. So
he's a fine young driver out of North Carolina, and he runs a Corvette in Trans Am. Willis back in the car up, trying to find a dry place or a relatively solid place to launch that car from. And he can't do it. The Fisher and Lewis machine, that silver Porsche, running second overall behind Terry Borchler and Tony Jennings in their BMW. Bill Overland, meantime, up to 6th after getting his lap back. He's on the lead lap, but he's a minute behind. He needs a break. He needs a caution.
He needs a caution. It's going to be really tough for him to get through the field to get to Terry, but that will be a tremendous race. You saw he was quicker than Terry, more desperate to get up in front of him to get that lap back. It's so important, but now he's just got to wait for the luck to fall his way.
Keith Fisher in the 71 car has gone all the way, trying to close in on Borchler. As we show you our running order in the top left of the screen, getting down toward the end here at Lime Rock Park. There's the 15, Randy Pope steering that car up through the field. They've climbed back to 10th. Kenny Bupp in the 11 car, giving way to John Letney earlier. And the 15 car watching Randy Pope. Sandy Heng, his partner Kim Hiskey, did a nice job in that race car.
She did. There seemed to be some confusion if you had to take a green lap or a yellow to get the driver's points. Did you know? And what did you know?
To count for driver's points, you have to take at least one lap under green, yes.
So you knew that?
Yes, I did.
And you got out pretty quick. Is that foot still a little tender?
Yeah, a little bit tender. It's also pretty hard to see in there, so I figured instead of just stressing with my, being tired and all, having my cold, I'd just let Randy go out and have all the fun in the race.
I don't know if you can call this fun, guys.
I don't know if you classify this as fun or not. You've got to have a certain temperament, I think, to be enjoying this, David.
I'm having fun inside the booth. Thank you very much.
You're nice and dry. Borchler, your leader in the 54 car. The 71 of Fisher runs second. We're at Lime Rock Park. We'll be back. Back at Lime Rock Park, here on Speed Vision, the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series. GT solo action for you today. I'm Rick Benjamin with David Murray, Sandy Heng and Guy Hobbs on pit road. There's your leader, Terry Borchler of the Jet Motorsports BMW. Tony Jennings, the team owner, did a fine job, handed off to Borchler. They've played this rain strategy perfectly, David Murray.
They've done exactly what they need to do. I talked to Terry before the race as well, and he was a little bit nervous about what are we going to do? Is somebody else going to give up the points and do the whole race solo? But I don't know if that would have helped. Had the full course yellow, changed drivers, they're right there.
Now, here's your second place car. Gunnar Jeanette has taken over Larry Schumacher's Porsche. He steered that car around the 71 of Keith Fisher back to second spot. Sandy Heng here with team owner Larry Schumacher. Do they think they have a shot here in the waiting laps?
I'm here with Larry Schumacher right now. Larry, do you have a shot here in the final laps? Can you hold it?
Well, we have our Class 1, and we probably got a shot, but really we're more interested in how we wind up in our class. But, yeah, we got a shot. That car is real hard to drive. It's a turbocharged car. And in this rain, 1 minute you got no power, the next minute you got too much power. So it's rather difficult, but yeah, we got a shot.
What did you tell him when you made the driver switch?
We told him to be real damn careful.
That's it. That's what he says. Real, you know what, careful.
Larry Schumacher is the point leader in GTS, coming in today by just 1 point over Chris Bingham. But the Celine of Bingham and Ron Johnson has had problems. They are off the racetrack. They have spent a lot of time behind pit wall. So Schumacher bidding for the victory and the bonus points, but he missed the chicane, Jeanette did. We'll sort it out when we come back at Lime Rock. Back at Lime Rock, an action-packed, rain-filled day. We've had several spins in the last few moments. The 39 twirling just a moment ago. Tom Papadopoulos soloing there. The 66 car was in contention for quite a while today. Kevin Buckler in the Racers Group Porsche. The 36 car, one of the American GT machines, spinning and backing into the wall. And then the 65 car also getting in trouble. The 65 machine, that's the Sanchez racing car. Paul Alderman and Frank Sanchez driving that car. And meantime, here comes the 99 of Jeanette and the 10 of Bill Oberlin now. The BMW on the charge. That 6-cylinder, two-door BMW. He is flying up through the field. Oberlin shown third overall, a lap down to the leader, Borchler, but he's done a great job, David Murray.
He's done a terrific job. He's really on the move. He had a mission trying to get this thing going. I'm not sure he's going to have time to get it done now.
He's trying to get by the 99 of Jeanette. Now, it'll be interesting to see. We saw the 99 car miss the chicane a lap ago. Wonder if they'll be penalized for that when the checkered flag falls. We've got 4 minutes left on the clock in this race, which means maybe 3 laps of racing.
That's something that Grand Am's going to have to take a look at and see if he decided if they think that he got an advantage from going through the chicane. If not, they'll let it go. Now,
we heard team owner Larry Schumacher a moment ago on pit road say the 99 is very hard to drive because at one moment it's turboed, of course. You've got either no power or too much power. Oberlin with that 6-cylinder BMW, not an overload of power in that race car.
There's a world difference. The BMWs are very, very softly sprung. They don't have the turbocharge. They don't have as much horsepower. A little bit easier to drive. That big horsepower car obviously is a pretty quick car. Got a little downforce, but very difficult to drive with that much horsepower.
And the word from Grand Am officials is that it's okay to miss the chicane going to the backstretch here if you don't improve your position in doing so. And Jeanette did not. Now, though, here comes Oberlin. Lap traffic in the way, the 07 machine. He's trying to shoulder his way by that Porsche. He'll do it on the inside, but down the straightaway, the 99's got a big horsepower advantage.
Yeah, and that's the problem, and that's a tough place. That's a great place to pass, so Bill's going to have to wait to the other side. Same thing before when he was trying to get around Borchello. That V8 would pull him down the straight. You'd see a gap open up. He'd close it back up with a 6-cylinder in the infield with had a bit better handling. That car's a little bit lighter than the V8 as well.
Couple of laps to go here at Lime Rock. Terry Borchello on his way to an overall GT win for the Jet Motorsports crew out of San Antonio, Texas. Tony Jennings, Jim Bell, and that bunch, they've had a great weekend here, and Borchello hasn't put a wheel wrong. He's one of the few you can say that about.
He's a terrific driver, and that's what I'm sure Bill Oberlin, who's also an excellent driver, is waiting. So my only hope is that Terry falls off the track, but that's not going to happen. Those guys are professionals, and that's why they call them professionals.
Borchello lapping by the number 36 Camaro. Stu Hayner jumping into that race car. He's worked that car up nicely. Andrew Copperell started, and a spin, the 09 of Doug Goad, and Hayner, I believe, in the 36 going around there. Other cars down into the mud and the water. That could have been very dangerous. The track virtually blocked. Another car, one of the Porsches has spun. I believe that's the 39 car that spun a little further up the track. 2 minutes remaining.
You want to make sure you don't go off the racetrack, or like Jack Willis, you'll have a tough time getting back on.
Yeah.
Look at the mud and the water. If you get stuck out in that, it's almost impossible to get your car back on. With the wide tires, there's just so much tire you can't get any traction.
Hayner back underway. Here's your leader, Borchello. Should be grabbing the white flag perhaps this time by. He is all alone. He's nearly 48 seconds ahead of Larry Schumacher and Gunnar Jeanette on the 99. Jeanette driving right now. Borchello just needs to keep that car between the white lines. Look at the driving rain that continues to fall here at Lime Rock.
He's just waiting right now. He's hearing every noise. It's like you always hear all the races. He knows he's got a big lead. He's hoping there's not a yellow for a restart. Now it's kind of late. The last lap, he's not going to have a problem with holding somebody off. It's in the back of the field, but you're just waiting for anything to happen.
The battle for second that was nose to tail a moment ago. Gunnar Jeanette has pulled away from Bill Oberlin by about 2 seconds in the final couple of tours around here. So Jeanette doing a great job after taking over from team owner Schumacher. Mark Snow has piloted along with Schumacher many of the weeks this year in the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. Jeanette coming in to drive this weekend has done a very nice job in that race car.
Listen to that V8 and the BMW. It sounds completely different than the 6-cylinder. Much lower torque, big thunder sound.
In America GT, Doug Goad and Craig Conway, even with that spin, Goad is the leader as we come toward the checkered flag. White flag waving now over Terry Borchello in the 54 car, we're told. Can't even see the flag stand. It's raining so hard.
And you know, you don't realize, and you see these shots, long shots where you see all the way down the straightaway, you see nothing but mist. That's true to life what it looks like in the car. It's horrible. You don't know if a car is 10 feet in front of you or all the way down the straightaway. All you see is mist.
If you're Borchello now, do you just want to keep your distance from everybody? You're not necessarily trying to pass anybody.
Absolutely not. He's going to be so careful. Look, he's not even thinking about passing somebody. He's going to wait. Maybe in the back straightaway. He doesn't want to be around too long where you have your vulnerability, but if he can't pass safely, he's not even going to think about it.
Easing by the 54 car there, rather the 54 easing by the 61 Porsche there.
Here, let's don't take a chance. Pull back in line. I'm waiting. I got plenty of time.
Up through the zigzag toward the uphill turn, ready to hit the chicane, and then down the backstretch here.
And he feels like, right now, he feels like he's going way slow. He's thinking, oh, they're going to catch me, but he's got to stop and realize, I got plenty of time.
Borchello doing a great job in that V8-powered BMW on their way to a GT and an overall victory in GT category action here at Lime Rock.
Well, that's a big reward, too, when you win overall, not just in your class, and that's a tough deal when you're talking about a GT car.
Checkered flag is in the air. Terry Borchello and Tony Jennings flash the lights. Borchello will take the 54 car home to victory here at Lime Rock Park. Borchello your winner in what turns out to be a timed race. Jim Bell, Tony Jennings, the rest of the crew on the wall. It has been a great afternoon for that team. Larry Schumacher and Gunnar Jeanette come home second. Bill Oberlin and Rick Fairbanks will take third. We'll talk to the winners in Victory Lane when we come back.
Welcome back to Lime Rock, where we're with Terry Borchello and Tony Jennings. What a fabulous run for you guys.
I tell you what, Tony put me in a great position. First of all, the team put me in a fantastic position, Tony and I both. And then Tony, at the beginning of the race, did a great job coming up from mid-pack, and it was just cruising from there, smooth sailing. I'd like to say hi to my wife, Tracy, at home, and Taylor and Trenton.
Okay, congratulations, guys. Their secret was soap on the windows.
That's an idea. Soap on the windows to improve visibility. Visibility in the driving rain, the key issue here today at Lime Rock Park for all of these Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series GT teams. There you see the 99 of Larry Schumacher, Gunnar Jeanette. They finished second overall with GTS. The Team Bliss Chevrolet, the 09 car, they win American GT and add to their point lead in that division. Never in contention for the overall win, but a good run for that team nonetheless. The rain was the big story here today. Many laps under caution, but a lot of incredible competition and a lot of wild action, too. Many, many spins. Terry Borchello and Tony Jennings, your winners, and of Jeanette and Schumacher. Bill Auberlin helps Rick Fairbanks come home third overall in the 10 car. Spencer Pumpelly, fifth in that 34 after leading early on. Court Wagner and Steve Marshall come home in 15th spot. There's Goad and Conway. They run 13th today. Jack Willis, who led several laps in the 18 car, they finish in 18th spot. Take a look at the final group of 10. Stu Hayner helps Andrew Copperell come home in 21st, and Ron Ferris never did complete a lap in the 41 car. Here you get some idea of what it was all about here at Lime Rock Park today. Gripping the racetrack, Terry Borchello did that best of all. Congratulations to Borchello and Tony Jennings. For David Murray, I'm Rick Benjamin. We'll see you next time.
Speed Vision's coverage of the Rolex Grand American Series is brought to you by X1R Performance Lubricants, the only lubricants in the world ever inducted into the NASA Space Technology Hall of Fame. Use X1R and run with the best. And by BMW. Find yours at bmwusa.com.
Back at Lime Rock, about ready to do battle in the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series. David Hobbs, a 1.5-mile, 7-turn course, pretty much a long oval.
Well, it is pretty much a long oval. That number 2, the only left-hander here. A lot of elevation change in some very, very fast corners. A very challenging track. A lot quicker than it looks. 108-mile-an-hour average for the front guys.
Now, they didn't qualify nearly that quickly because of the rain Saturday. Let's show you how they did qualify, the 10 cars that'll do battle here today. On the pole for us, the 16 car. That's one of Rob Dyson's machines. James Weaver will open. Elliott Forbes Robinson will line up second in the Dyson 20 car. He'll share with Andy Wallace. Next group of 2 cars, Mauro Baldi and Didier Tays. They won at Watkins Glen, and Kevin Doran's Ferrari Judd. George Robinson starts the 74 Ranch Resort machine. He'll pair with Jack Baldwin. Bob Julian, Bruno St. Jacques will share the pole sitter in SRP2. That's a Nissan Lola. Paul Macy and Andy Lally will team up in the Archangel Prototype 2, the 21 car. Dries Roussel and Edward Cizianelli in the CZO Florida BMW Norma machine, the 78. Joe and John Field will pair in the very quick Lola Judd, the 37 car. They will start in the 8th spot here today. Last couple of starters, Howard Katz and Mike Durand. That's the other Prototype 2, the 22. Clint Field and John Miro scratch on the field in the 28. We'll take you for a ride today with the 37 car. Joel Field will open. John Field will back him up today. We'll ride as well with George Robinson, who will start his 74 car. Jack Baldwin will drive the second sprint here today, and we'll go with the 27 machine. Mauro Baldi will start in the first race here today, about ready to go green at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. Guy Hobbs, Sandy Hanger on pit road for us today. We're glad you're with us for the next couple of hours live here on Speed Vision Round 5 of the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series season. Prototypes only in the twin sprints here today. A 10-minute break will divide the 2 races. David Hobbs is alongside. We're glad you're with us, looking for a green flag to start 40 minutes of action here at Lime Rock Park. Here they come through the gearbox into turn 1, and we are underway at Lime Rock. And Weaver in the 16 grabs the early lead. EFR tucks in second spot. The 89 car trying to hold that pack back. You've got a couple of prototypes there on board the 37. This is Joe Field out of turn 1 up the short chute to the left-hander.
Boy, a bit of side-by-side stuff going on there between turns 1 and 2. Turn 2 here, the only left-hander on the track. Nevertheless, an important one, because this no-name straight they're coming onto here is a very fast bit of track, a little bit on the bumpy side, and as you can see from the way it does actually move around a little bit. It's not that easy to overtake on here.
And it shows you how well the Prototype 2s that are much lighter can handle parts of this racetrack. Mauro Baldi on board in the 27 car, started in 3rd spot.
This is the fastest corner, the diving turn 7. A little bit bumpy on the exit, you can see from the way his hands are moving, but such an important corner to get you down this straight with speed and momentum so you can do some out-braking here into turn 1. He's right behind EFR at the moment in the second, the 20 of the Dyson car, the number 20 car.
Unlike last week at Watkins Glen, no pit stops for driver changes. Shouldn't be any pit stops at all except for the 10-minute break. Meantime, here comes George Robinson catching up to Mauro Baldi for third spot.
George driving extremely well here. In the Judd-powered Riley and Scott there, right behind the Judd-powered Ferrari chassis of... Whoa!
Robinson spins, cracks the tire barrier hard. Robinson uphill, that blind left-hand turn, drops it in gear, refires the car. Someone else coming up on him, more traffic ahead. Robinson facing the traffic there in a dangerous spot. Gets it in gear, will pull back onto the speedway and take off. But I have to think, David, he did some damage to that car.
He hit that tire wall pretty hard, but of course tire walls are amazingly resilient, but it's almost bound to have bent, at the very least, bent something.
Crew looking on as we take a look with George Robinson to see what happened here as he came up over the hill. First couple of cars, Robinson fourth in line, just spun it as he tried to make that left-hander.
Boy, it's just... He missed the rear end, missed everything, so maybe just that front corner's a bit tweaked.
He was a little offline, you could tell, as he tried to go left there.
Yeah.
Now, Saturday, when we were with you for GT coverage and looking at qualifying, drivers were talking about how slick it is there when they go asphalt to concrete. That transition is very tough. Robinson brings the 74 machine on the pit road. We remain green. Guy Hobbs, what's the situation?
Well, I tell you what, it looks like it's going to be worse than we think. Other than the superficial damage on the front nose here, he looked like he had a horrible time trying to keep that straight, driving it down pit lane.
One other car has gone off with the chicane. It's the Prototype 2, the 89 machine. Bob Julian driving. He gets that car in reverse. He's in a very big area.
I hope he knows there's nobody coming.
Julian will go down through the grass, which is never a good idea in these very low slug prototype cars. We'll take a look at his situation now. Coming up through the kink here. He just went off, it looks like. Went out on it. Back in, went away.
I don't think he got tagged.
No, doesn't look like it. The two prototypes, Prototype 2s from Archangel, the 21 and the 22 car going by.
He needs to get some lessons there from Alex Zanardi how to do a donut. I suspect this left front suspension is deranged somewhat.
Robinson stays in the car. The crew not moving very quickly at the moment, trying to decide what sort of repairs can be made. Meantime, Mauro Baldi battling for second spot, trying to catch up to Elliott Forbes Robinson through the left-hander. This is turn 2. Baldi up the short straightaway toward the zigzag and heading to the uphill turn, and the two Dyson cars with a good lead at the moment. Baldi catching up though to EFR through the chicane now to West Bend and under the bridge to complete another lap here at Lime Rock. EFR putting a car a lap down. We'll come right back at Lime Rock. One of the prototypes on pit road early, the 78 car. Guy Hobbs, what's the situation there?
Well, interesting situation. We think this may be a reaction to the George Robinson car going off, and they've taken advantage of the situation and changed drivers. So Patrice Roussel has got out, Eduardo Cesanale has got in, but they're also making some aerodynamic changes here. You can see with the air intakes for the radiators, they've adjusted those and lifted them up. I guess they weren't getting enough air in there, enough cool, enough temperatures in there, so that's what they're doing with that, but they've lost a couple of laps already. At this, I'm going to have to guess, though, that Cesanale will now stay in the car for the remainder of this race and then start the next race, because they've now done their driver change. They won't have to worry about that. An update on the 74 car. I mentioned he had a hard time coming down pit lane in a straight line. Well, that's because they got a broken left steering arm, and they are repairing that right now. Obviously struggling for points here.
As we take a look up in front, it is James Weaver in the 16, lapping by one of the Prototype 2 machines, one of the Archangel cars, through the diving turn onto the front straightaway to complete lap number 9. 40 minutes, our first sprint time today. We've run almost 8 minutes, David, about 32 minutes to go. Weaver all alone out in front. EFR a couple of seconds back in the 20 car. Here comes EFR down the front straightaway.
I'm surprised that James Weaver has pulled out so much on EFR, who, if anything, is slightly holding up Mauro Baldi at this stage. Difficult to overtake when the cars are so evenly matched as these two are. But, of course, the Ford-powered car of EFR has got just that much more grunt out of these low-speed turns like this. It can just launch him down the road a little bit. Difficult for Mauro Baldi to come to grips with it.
Much shorter track than these cars ran on a week ago at Watkins Glen. Lime Rock only 1.5 miles. Lime Rock shorter by a couple of miles, really, than the long course at Watkins Glen. Here's your fourth place car. Joe Field and John Field will share the very quick Lola Judd here today. Joe Field starting in that machine. They're on the lead lap. They're 38 seconds behind. And David, you've got to think that John Field will have a shot at winning the second half of the sprints here today.
John Field is very quick in his car, as we saw just a couple of weeks ago at Watkins Glen. Extremely quick, so he's just hoping that Joe finishes this race and doesn't lose too much time.
Sandy Haig standing by in the Banana Joe's pit. Sandy, how do they think this race is playing out down there?
Well, actually, this is what they expected. Joel said he did not get any track time. He didn't really feel comfortable on the track. He said, and I quote him on this, "I'm going to wing it." So they did expect it to be a little bit slow for him, but they think when John gets in the cockpit in the second race, things will improve for this team.
One of the things you hear these drivers say is that Lime Rock is pretty rough. Now, we're watching Joe Field at the wheel. David, he's really getting shaken and stirred here.
Yep, the track is built on shale, and it doesn't matter what they do to it, the ground is always shifting underneath it, and they've resurfaced it and tried a lot of different ways to make this place smooth, and it stays smooth for a little bit, and then it reverts after a good strong winter. It tends to go back again, so it's going to be difficult for them to ever make this smooth, but it certainly makes it interesting trying to steer your way around the bumps. You know, you start to learn where they are, and then the following year they've moved.
Field heading to the backstretch in the 37 car. John Field will drive that car through the chicane here on the backside of the racetrack, up toward the bridge, and then the diving turn, and then the front stretch. 1.5 miles goes by quickly here. These cars capable of running well under a minute lap times at Lime Rock. Now here's the team car for Banana Joe's, the 28 car, one spot behind in fifth. Clint Field starting the car, and he has been lapped already by the 16 and James Weaver.
Now Clint Field hadn't seen this racetrack until Saturday, so his first laps here were in those dreadful conditions that we had on Saturday, so he really didn't learn much about it until this morning's warm-up, during which, of course, he discovered that the car's got a lot of push. So there was limited movements limited changes they could make to the car to get rid of that push, because they certainly don't want to think to start oversteering.
Now Clint Field in fifth getting lapped. He did start 10th though, so it's been a good run so far for Clint Field in that machine. That team running fourth and fifth. John Field though, Sandy Haig, he's expecting a much better result, I would say, in the second sprint today.
Well, he's not biting his nails, at least at this point. And I know there was some confusion. You wanted to get Oliver Gavin in, but you didn't realize it until the last second. What happened?
Well, they had told us that I could run both races. And then on Saturday, they announced that there'd be bonus points if we had two different drivers. So Ollie's racing in Le Mans, and he's been away from his family a lot, so we just decided to keep him over in England. But so it'll all sort itself out. But Joe's having a great race, and Clint's chasing him, so it's good. You know, we're having fun, a lot of fun watching them race.
What are you thinking watching Clint turn a pretty fast lap here?
Watching Clint's nerve biting. He's crazier than I am, I think. He's a good driver. Yeah.
Now the Field family machines, the 28 and the 37, running fourth and fifth here in the early going at Lime Rock Park. The Memorial Day Twin Sprints live on Speed Vision. The 74 machine of George Robinson and Jack Baldwin still on pit road as they work to change the steering arm on the left front quarter of that car. We'll take a quick time out here on Speed Vision. Be right back with plenty more. Memorial Day weekend is a great racing tradition here at Lime Rock Park. In 1987, a huge crowd on hand, as always at this time of year. Most couldn't believe their eyes. Watch this. Five-time IMSA champ Al Holbert will spin the Lowenbrow Fortune right after the drop of the green flag. Holbert's teammate Chip Robinson would lead this tightly packed group of cars for several more laps. But Holbert, the great driver, refused to give up. He fought his way through the field, almost blowing over there. Eventually, he'd take the lead from his teammate in the other Lowenbrow machine. From there, the contenders dropped like flies, including teammate Chip Robinson, paving the way for Holbert's 14th career victory in that Porsche 962 here at Lime Rock Park 14 years ago.
Number one, man! Hi, Mom.
Well, today the 74 Ranch Resort team will not be number one in the first half of the Twin Sprints at Lime Rock, but they're hoping to be number one when the checkered flag falls in race number 2. They're taking their time fixing that race car. The Cezio, Florida team, the 78 car, also taking plenty of time on pit road. They have also effected a driver change. At this stage, they're back on the racetrack. And David Hobbs, since they reset the scoring for the second half of the twin sprints, both of these teams will have a shot at the second half of the doubleheader. Sandy Hang on pit road. What is the Cezio team trying to accomplish here?
Well, they basically made the decision to get Roussel out of the car, and he will not be getting into the second race. Simply that they don't think he's quite as fast. That simple, guys.
Boy, the trouble with a short format like that and a short race, it takes so long to change the driver or make any sort of a stop. Even if he's significantly off the pace, you might be better off hanging on to him. But obviously they feel that their new driver is a lot quicker, so they've changed over. Put Cezio and Ali back in the car.
Paul Macy, meantime, had spun the 21 car, one of the prototype 2 machines, off on the backside of the course. He's gotten it refired and pointed back in the correct direction. We'll try to show you just how that happened. He's giving room here to James Weaver, but he ran out of racetrack damage.
Yeah, that seemed a bit odd, and he was giving him room, but he gave him just a bit too much room, and his judgment let him down somewhat, and he found himself floundering around out the outside of that left turn.
Macy started in 6th spot, had dropped back to 7th. His teammate Howard Katz had gotten by him here. As we check back in, Edward Cezio, the team owner of the 78 car, driving now 9th. 5 laps down to the leaders after stopping for that aero change and to get Roussel out of the car. He runs in front of one of the Banana Joe's cars into the chicane, heading to the backstretch, and you're on board with Joe Field in the Banana Joe's 37. He will whip around to the outside of the 78 car. Let's take a listen to the Judd V10 in this Lola chassis machine.
Fastest part of the course into turn 1.
To lap by him on the outside here through the kink.
Whoa! I was just going to say, right behind him must be Mario Baldy.
Whoa! But you can hear the song of that Judd motor. That is a well-tuned and good-sounding race engine. As they come down toward the diving turn, the 2 leaders, Baldy in the 27, running in 3rd spot. Behind the 16 and the 20 car. They've been 3rd all the way. Mauro Baldi downshifting into turn 1. This also a Judd engine machine, but the Ferrari chassis. And it was very quick at the end at Watkins Glen. David, why are they not competitive seemingly here today?
I think on this shorter circuit, the speed is higher, so the Ford-powered cars have got a lot more downforce, and they've got the horsepower to drag it through the air. The Judd engine hasn't got quite the horsepower, and it hasn't got quite the torque, so they have to carry a bit less downforce. The thing where the Judd really scores is in the long races, because it is better on fuel, and it usually helps them out as the race unwinds. This short format, super short format, is not good for the Judd-powered cars.
Leaders powering out of the diving turn. Baldi is 3rd. The 2 Dyson cars, the 16 and 20, are 1 and 2. And Guy Hobbs, team owner Rob Dyson on hand today. I guess he won't be driving, but he's got to be thrilled the way his team is performing.
Obviously, he's thrilled with the way the team is performing. 1-2 right now, Rob. But we know that you're kitted up with your driver's suit on, but you won't be driving here this weekend, and you're beginning to regret that decision.
Absolutely, yeah. This is home course. You know, it's 45 minutes from home. And I had a lot of business travel last week, and I've got a lot coming up, so I just backed off it, and I just decided that, hey, you know, maybe we ought to just cool it this weekend, but it turned out that was fundamentally the wrong decision. Sometimes I make wrong decisions, you know.
It seems right now that James and EFR are having all the fun out there. What are you telling them?
Well, we're giving them their splits, inner times. It's you know, kind of standard operating procedure. And, you know, we just want them to run as hard as they can just to keep the cars on the track. You know, this isn't over, and the series isn't over, so we've got to run this race and the next race and do a good job there. And then we got the championship, so, you know, we're taking it seriously. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We're giving them the splits and their time.
All right, Rob Dyson keeping a close eye on the cars that run 1 and 2 right now. Back up to you, Rick.
Weaver lapping by the 89 car, but last time down the front straightaway, one of the prototype 2s, again the 21 car, had problems as we watched James Weaver just dusting everybody here in the early going at Lime Rock. Show you what happened coming out of the diving turn. There's the 21 once again, David Hobbs, running out of racetrack.
This is not a good place to run out of racetrack. You can see he's got a lot of speed on board going across that very uneven off track there. Hopefully he hasn't done any damage to the undertray of that car.
Looked like a hydroplane kind of skimming the waves there. As Paul Macy has problems, but he's back on the racetrack. The work continues on George Robinson's Lola Judd. Work is completed on the 74 Ranch Resort. Riley and Scott Judd. George Robinson refiring that machine, and he will bring it back up onto the racetrack. Many, many laps down, but they're trying to check and make sure they're right for the second half of the twin sprint.
He's only 22 laps down, don't exaggerate. Of course, the Bentley boys will be back at Le Mans too. Big winners in the mid-30s, haven't been back there for 70 years, and obviously hoping for a tremendous comeback.
George Robinson up through the gears, slowly up onto the racetrack and check and then make sure everything is correct.
He is going to have to make a real serious comeback.
Well, for the second half of this twin sprint situation, they will reset the lap counter to 0, so Jack Baldwin will start heads up. Now let's show you something that happened here a little bit earlier from Marl Baldy's onboard camera, lapping by one of the Banana Joe's cars. And it was a very close call as things appeared at that time. No contact, but tight moment for both those drivers. On board the 37 car, Joe Field running fourth. His nephew Clint in the 28 car right behind him in fifth spot. Just a couple of seconds apart. They're one lap down to the three lead cars, the two Dyson machines and the Kevin Doran 27 car. There's Clint Field in the 28. George Robinson directly in front of him. Robinson missing many, many laps on pit road, 24 to be exact. Here comes the 28 car swinging inside of Robinson. On board Robinson quickly as we watch one of the field cars lap by. As we ride with George Robinson, Sandy Hang, you're on pit road. You've been standing by in their pit box watching that work go on. What's George saying to the team? Is the car right?
Well, this is why they lost so many laps. This is the steering arm. See that crack? Right there, I'm talking to Jim Frazier, who was their team manager. You lost a lot of laps in that. You had no idea, did you, that this could go?
No. It's kind of made to do that. The fact that it's aluminum, that's a shear point, so it's a good thing because it doesn't do much damage other than that part itself. But the good thing is, in the second race, we just start last, and it's a new race, so we'll be all right.
Everything is possible again in that second race for him. Let's go to Guy.
Race time, we were down here with Andy Lally, of course, the car number 21 entry, Archangel. Been off a couple of times, a fall behind the wheel. What's he been telling you guys?
Well, him and Julian have been fighting pretty hard at it. They're both pushing real hard, and they both dropped the wheels a couple times, but it's no big deal. We've got Paul, he's pushing, he's trying to catch up and put the pressure on him.
What do you think of this format, and are you excited about getting in for race 2?
I'm excited about race 2. I haven't done a sprint race in a while, but looking forward to it. The goal was this weekend to match me up with Bruno and Mike and have the three of us go at it, because that's what's going to count for the championship.
All right, look forward to that second race in the SRP2 formula. Andy Lally will start in the 21 in race number 2.
As we watch the 21 being passed by some of the faster prototype machinery. Riding with Joe Field in the Banana Joe's 37, that is the Lola Judd. They sit fourth. Right at the moment, showing on the lead lap, but several seconds behind the two Dyson machines and Marl Baldy in the 27. Meantime, Howard Katz is leading in Prototype 2 in the other Archangel machine, the Avon Tires 22 car. Katz doing a nice job. He's knocked off a 57-second lap last time around. They are 6th overall and leading in the Prototype 2 category. So Katz keeping things together up the backstretch. As we watch the leaders swing on the front straightaway, it's James Weaver ahead of EFR at Lime Rock Park. Back at Lime Rock Park here on Speed Vision, the Grand Prix today, typical Memorial Day activity. Lime Rock, the traditional site of road racing here in North America on Memorial Day. Twin sprints today for these prototype machines. Instead of a couple of hours of endurance racing, we're in the first 40-minute sprint. There'll be a 10-minute break, and then the 45-minute nightcap with a driver change. The pits will be open for 8 minutes there. Cars lined up in single file, 10 machines taking the green, and they will come to the start of the second race in the order of finish from the first. The points are awarded for both races, David, which really makes it a two-race event, and you're not behind when you start that second race. You haven't lost laps.
No, and of course, exactly. So this car, the Joel Field car, John Field, who's significantly quicker than his brother, will start at the back of the field, admittedly, but it is a small field, and he has got a good chance. The car was very quick 2 weeks ago in Watkins Glen, but as I said, you know, that Judd-powered car, it's going to be pushed in such a short race to really hang in there with those Ryland Scott Fords.
Now George Robinson piloting his 74 car, the 74 Ranch machine down the front stretch. They broke a steering arm earlier, took a long pit stop to fix it. George back out, making sure everything is right for the second race when he'll hand off to Jack Baldwin. Sandy Hang in their pit stall. Sandy, they've got some interesting data that they're collecting off that machine.
Well, you can see from their telemetry that they are back on pace, turning 5310s where they want to be. Of course, they've got the engine RPM. They've also got wheel speed front and right. You can see it. And, of course, the track. They can see at all times where George is on the track.
Meantime, best paddle on the racetrack is for fourth spot right now, the 37 of Joe Field. Clint Field in the 28 car. The two teammates are nose to tail, David Hobbs.
Now, Clint Field, you got to remember, is the youngest driver in this field, and of course he had very little practice. He'd never seen the place before, certainly haven't seen it in the dry until this morning, so he's probably carrying a bit more speed than his uncle here, and he'll be radioing back to the pits to tell Nunkey to step aside and let the boy through and try and give him some more points in this race.
Clint Field, only 17 years old. It's been very competitive in the prototype category here in Grand Am. In 2001, we've had 4 races so far. 4 different teams have been to victory lane. Jim Downing's Mazda Kudzu winning the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Weaver and Leitzinger sharing honors at Homestead. In Phoenix, it was John Field and Oliver Gavin. And last week, Didier Tays, Malvaldi, and Freddie Leinhardt in Kevin Doran's Ferrari Judd. Today, though, this race in the hands of James Weaver, the first of our twin sprints at Lime Rock, as that battle rages for fourth. We'll be right back. Battling for second spot here in the Lime Rock Park Twin Sprints on Memorial Day Monday. You're on board with the 27 car, Mauro Baldi driving Kevin Doran's Lista Ferrari. Closing in now on EFR in the 20 car, Rob Dyson, Thetford Norcold, Riley and Scott Ford. David Hobbs, I think Baldi may have something going here.
Ooh, he's caught that slower car there, the real bad time. He had to back right out of it going down the diving turn, which loses him a tremendous amount of momentum down this back straight, which is the only place you really got to hammer it. But he is catching him up, but he's going to have an awful job to get by him.
Watching the split on our lap timer that we have here in the booth, Baldi had closed to within 8/100ths of a second of the 20 car. He gave it up, and now he's 2/10ths behind once again. Show you how this happened. Coming down toward turn 1, that's Baldi. And the 20 car of EFR, Baldi got by him on the outside. EFR tried to shoulder his way back past, was able to do it here. Coming up the back part of the racetrack.
Wow, now that was pretty impressive driving by both those guys side by side, but you saw the grunt of that 5.6 litre Ford just got him in front to take that left-hander, the one and only left-hander. So now Mauro Baldi's got to go through all that work again, and he's got 5 minutes left to get up to him and get by him again.
Should give him about 5 laps. Lap times here are just a tick under 1 minute on the mile-and-a-half course at Lime Rock Park in the hills of Northwest.
Perfect for him. The 20 car was getting held up there as it went through Big Bend, so that will give him a little bit of a chance. Here's the 16 car with James Weaver at the wheel, having a very, very easy run of it. In fact, lap ahead of the 20 car of EFR.
Weaver just taking his time very patiently. Only 10 cars in the field today, so not a lot of traffic to worry about. Although it seems, David, these faster prototypes have found the prototype 2s at the worst possible moments on the racetrack.
It's always the way when you're driving. You always catch people at exactly the wrong time. Again, poor old Baldi catches up that slower car right in the middle of the chicane, which again loses momentum out of the straight. Now, this is where he needs to pick it up through here.
Onto the front stretch, you can see the 20 with EFR up ahead.
If he was just a bit closer, he'd be getting a draft down here. He's probably getting a little bit of a draft even that far back. He seems to be a bit quicker through Big Bend, but then out of Big Bend, that bigger car just pumps away from him.
Baldi cranking hard left over that concrete patch and into another one. Meantime, Andy Wallace, who will jump into the 20 car in the second half here today, getting a pre-race massage. Get those knots out before you climb into the machine.
Andy Wallace, a very accomplished and fast driver. He's going to be tough for poor old Didier Tays to take on. There you see the gap real time. Pretty close.
Baldy in the 27 car, downhill under the bridge to the diving turn, about 10 or 12 car lengths behind. We'll get the interval for you as these two cars come across start-finish. As we ride with the 37 machine, fourth place car, Joe Field driving. The gap between second and third now just 1.1 seconds as Baldy tries to track him down in the last couple of laps. This is your fourth place machine. He's got a 6-second lead over his nephew Clint Field in the 28 car for fourth.
I wonder what happened there, because Clint was right with him at one stage. Perhaps they told Clint to move back and give Unky Joe a bit of breathing room.
This is the fourth place car, taking a look from the roll hoop of the 37 as they accelerate up through the zigzag on the backside of the track here at Lime Rock.
You can see how his head's bouncing around there to give you an idea of just how bumpy that no-name straight is into the chicane.
And the chicane being concrete as opposed to asphalt, that's where George Robinson came to grief earlier, David. The elevation change, a little bit bumpy, plus much different in grip level.
Very different in grip level, exactly. And of course, these guys are finding it difficult. There's a concrete strip through turn 6 there, which they're finding difficult today because this track really is very green after all that rain washed all vestiges of rubber away.
As we watch Clint Field come to the front straightaway, here's Baldy catching up one of the prototype 2 cars through the kink.
That's the 21 on the 22 car, which of course now has really screwed him up there because that was through both the left and the right-hander. Now he's finally squeezes by in the middle of no-name straight. So he's lost all chance really of coming to grips with the 20 car in this short race.
That was the 21 car. Paul Macy has been off the track twice in that machine, getting lapped once again.
Here comes James Weaver. Obviously James has got all the time in the world to pick his way through this traffic. But as you say, they keep on catching people at the most difficult time. He's going to put another lap on the car of Mauro Baldi here.
16 car with a great lap earlier, a 50.5-second lap in race traffic. That should be the best time of the day so far in this first sprint.
Very close to 110, 109.76. That's 110 in my book. That's quick.
Very quick indeed. Good run for James Weaver up the back part of the racetrack. George Robinson on the brakes, getting out of everybody's way. He is about to put, Weaver is, Baldy a lap down here, it looks like. 2 laps down.
2 laps down.
Baldy in the 16 car, swinging around the 78 of Cizinal. Down the diving turn in the front stretch once again. White flag should be in the air this time by. As they come to the stripe and take that white flag for 1 to go, Weaver will dive to the inside of Baldy.
Boy, that's a bit risky, isn't it, on the last lap? Still.
Does appear so.
He pulled it off.
Lapping by the 89 car from Porsche House Racing.
Well, Baldy hoping that Porsche House car had seen him coming, because he sees the first one of the fast ones coming. You very often miss the second one.
Baldy still trying to track down the 20. Rob Dyson's Thetford Norcold Ford on the Riley and Scott chassis. James Weaver, meantime, from the pole, has led all the way here in the first of these twin sprints today. Final time.
James Weaver having a very short day. His working day is done now.
Heading to the checkered flag, James Weaver will score all the points for winning the first half of the prototype twin sprints today here at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. Team owner Rob Dyson applauding his drivers, who will finish 1-2 in this race. Now remember, in the second half of the doubleheader coming up in a couple of minutes, all the laps will reset to 0. There will be no deficit for these drivers who finish behind Weaver, who squeezed the brakes a little too hard.
I was going to say, that's a bit unlike James Weaver, locking up there. Let's hope he hasn't got a problem. Now, from when he pulls in the pits, there's going to be 8 minutes, I believe, that they can actually do some work on these cars. So they can maybe make that 10 minutes. They can do some work on the cars and change a few things, but obviously they can't go completely berserk, but they can make some small change to the chassis.
So Weaver acknowledging the applause of the huge crowd here at Lime Rock. James Weaver, your winner of the first half of the twin sprints at Lime Rock. A sun-dappled afternoon, Memorial Day Monday in Connecticut. The Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series live here on Speed Vision. We'll show you how the prototypes took the checkered flag a moment ago in the first of the twin sprints. James Weaver winning, EFR second in the 20 car. Mauro Baldi tried hard but comes home in third. Joe Field grabs fourth ahead of his nephew Clint, the 37 of the 28 car. Howard Katz wins prototype 2 in race number 1 in the 22. Bob Julian second, Paul Macy third, all three prototype 2s together. Edward Cizianelli in the 78, and George Robinson, who had problems early, came to pit road for a lengthy pit stop, rounds out the 10 finishers here today. Let's talk to some of the key players in race number 1. Downstairs first to Guy Hodges.
James Weaver, you obviously don't listen to instructions very well. You were told not to completely lap the field, especially 2 times, but you did anyway. Excellent race.
Thank you very much. Well, Pat told me to slow down, but he didn't say I couldn't speed up again. So I slowed down for a couple of laps, and then I speeded up, and he never mentioned it again.
Oh, so you just kept going?
Yeah, I tell you, it's just such a great track, this. It's just so much fun. When you drive a car like this, that it's just wonderful to drive. It's hard to resist. It's like a kid in a sweet shop. You just have to have a go.
How's it feel doing this 45-minute thing? I mean, your day's done now. You can go home. You probably will go home.
Yeah, don't tell the governor that. He won't think he's getting value for money. I don't know. Let's see how it works out.
The 2 Dyson cars line up 1 and 2. Butch Leitzinger in the 16. Andy Wallace in the 20 car to lead the field to green. Didier Tays lines up next. John Field and John Miro in the 28 car. Mike Durand in the 22. Bruno Saint-Jacques in the 89. Andy Lally in the 21. Keep your eye on that Archangel 21 car. Green is out. 45 minutes of racing coming your way. On board with John Field trying to squeeze by Didier Tays, and I think he got it.
There must have been contact on board now with Didier.
Field up to third.
Being very aggressive right there at the start. Now he's right up there with Andy Wallace.
Look at Field all over the back end of Wallace in the 20 car. John Field, starting fourth, has already taken 1 spot away from Didier Tays. Uphill toward the chicane.
Cold tires now, John. He got cold tires.
That is Field in the 37 car. Great start, bonsaiing his way by Didier Tays. No easy task as he rides behind Andy Wallace.
Andy Wallace, of course, incredibly experienced, so he's going to be very difficult to get by. But he's drafting him down into turn 1.
Going to try him on the outside, perhaps?
That's going to be difficult to do, but he needs to be careful, of course. He doesn't leave the door open for Didier to come back to him on the inside.
Tays just a tick behind the fourth. Show you how that pass was made as the green was in the air. Coming toward turn 1, the 16 and the 20 ahead. Look at Field to the outside of Tays. On cold tires, as you said, David, he made it stick.
He made it stick. Didier had to go up on the curve, of course, there.
We climb back on board with John Field still behind Wallace, fighting for second. Meantime, Butch Leitzinger has opened up a couple of second lead. Under the bridge, down toward diving turn. Onto the front stretch here at Lime Rock.
Well, he's quickly there, but Wallace is very quick on the exit.
And you see the gap between the 16 and the 20. It's 3.1 seconds now. Tays right there in fourth spot.
This is going to be a huge race between these 3 cars.
And since it's only a 45-minute race, David, you cannot wait. You've got to go for it.
If you get a gap and you see an opportunity, you've got to take it. You can't wait for anything because you may never get the chance again. So unlike a 6-hour where you're going to have lots of other opportunities, in this format, you've got to go for it, which of course leads to some pretty tough and aggressive driving.
Which is the whole point of Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series competition. On board with Didier Tays as he tries to improve on his 4th spot as the crews watch here at Lime Rock.
It certainly looks as if John Field, if he could get around Wallace, he could probably just pull it away a bit, but then Wallace is quick, really quick on the exit of the downhill there, which of course gives him all that straightaway speed down here, and then poor old John Field has to work very hard to catch him up to the twisty bits here, but of course he can't really do much about it because he can't really capitalize on it. But of course we see traffic ahead, so that could change things a little bit as well.
Still riding with John Field, who is third. Andy Wallace directly in front of him, and Rob Dyson's Thetford Norcold 20 car in second. Leader continues to be Butch Leitzinger in the 16.
I think
James Weaver won that first race in that same car.
I think the 16 car must be just a little bit better set up than the 20 car, because I can't believe that Butch Leitzinger is that much quicker than Andy Wallace. Both of them incredibly accomplished drivers. Here we go, traffic helping now, because it's slowed Andy up at his absolute key spot. Coming off that corner, he got balked, he lost momentum. Can Field do it?
No, he's not quite quick enough at the end of the straightaway either.
And he's going to have to look at that old Didier Taze, of course. We haven't been seeing much of him, but he is right up the exhaust pipe there of John Field.
Only a tenth of a second separating third and fourth, and only another tenth keeping Field in third from Wallace at this point. We've run almost 8 minutes of the 45 minutes. Let's show you here for a moment. It looked like they'd be 3 wide coming to the stripe, and I was a little concerned that everybody'd be able to get through turn 1. Let's show you how it looked just a moment ago coming to the first corner. Here's the 28 of John Miro trying to move out of the way. Look at Field trying to dive inside Wallace.
But Wallace, of course, had moved to the inside line to protect himself when he got down to the end of the straight here at turn 1. He didn't want John Field poking his nose under him on the inside going into there. He wanted him to do it the hard way, go around the outside, which is always difficult.
Second, third, and fourth, still nose to tail here at Limelight Park. Early in the second half of the twin sprints on Memorial Day Monday. We're glad to have you with us here on Speed Vision. Andy Wallace continues to lead that battle, but the overall leader, Butch Leitzinger, will be back. Take a look at the chicane. Great battle in Prototype 2. The 3 contenders nose to tail. Bruno St. Jacques in the 89, leading the 21 with Andy Lally. Mike Durant in the 22. Now the 22 car with Howard Katz won Prototype 2 in the first half, David. They're sitting third right now, and you've got to like the job St. Jacques is doing in that 89 car.
Oh, he's doing an outstanding job. All 3 of them are having a terrific run. The car of Andy Lally, we saw on the hands of Paul Macy, have a couple of off-track excursions, but as Macy said, they hadn't had any real dry running, so they made a couple of changes between the 2 heats. Here comes Jim Leitzinger down the inside. Jim Leitzinger, yes, exactly, Jim. Leitzinger.
That's his uncle, I think.
That's his uncle, yeah. Trying to get amongst these 3 guys, which is going to break up their rhythm a little bit. See the SRP2 cars around that tight left-hand infield, really almost as quick as the bigger SRP1, but of course he's got a lot more aerodynamic help because he can drag it through the air, which they can't. Now this is going to be difficult.
Leitzinger squeezing through and slicing his way through that 3-car battle. Up through the chicane and the short straightaway. Leitzinger being held up a little bit right now. His lead 9.5 seconds over Andy Wallace in the 20. John Field continues to run third, and now Leitzinger has gotten in front of that battle for Prototype 2. Let's take a look at the progress being made by the 74 Ranch Resort machine. Jack Baldwin had to start 10th in this car, David Hobbs. He has marched right up through the field to 5th overall.
He has. He was telling us at the lunch break that he's not too happy with the gearbox on this car. Feels he loses a bit of crikey.
Wallace squeezing by.
That was the second spot there. John Field had got around Andy Wallace, and Andy Wallace just took it back.
As you ride with John Field, this battle rages on. Field's got to be frustrated having gotten by and then given that up just a couple of turns later.
Well, Fields and Baldwin both giving up just a little bit of top-end power with the Judd V10 over the Ford V8. The Ford V8 having a lot more capacity, cubic capacity, but not quite such a high-tech engine, but of course it picks it up in torque out of these slow speed corners. Not that there are many slow speed corners on line run.
Take a look at that Ferrari Judd. Didier Taze in the saddle for the second half of this event. He is 4th. After Field got by him at the drop of the green flag, and Taze has been unable to do much about moving that car more into contention. Sandy Hang, his teammate Mauro Baldi, watching this. What's Mauro saying about the progress of that automobile?
Well, Mauro, what did you tell Didier when he got into the car?
We decided to change the softness of the tire. We put on some hard compound because we had, during my stint, I had the lack of traction, so we needed some stiffer rear and front tires. So, in fact, now the lap time is a little bit quicker, even if the position doesn't change a lot. The Dyson car is number 16, is very, very quick on this track especially. And we knew we were going to do our best, but we had very little chance to win, and we're trying to do our best.
Okay, that's Mauro Baldi. Says at least they have a little bit better grip now.
Always important to have plenty of grip here at Lime Rock Park. On board John Field, riding third. We'll show you what happened a moment ago. This is Field going for second spot and getting it briefly down into the first turn.
Boy, he makes life difficult. He goes around the outside. They just do not quite contact. Brilliant driving by both these guys. But he manages to pull it off on the outside, and that's later on the day. You know there's a lot of rolled up rubber and dust starting to develop on the outside of that big bend.
Field able to close up on Wallace through the chicane there, but off the chicane. Now there's slower traffic, and look what Field is going to do here. Almost off the road.
Andy Wallace could see him coming. Bit of judicious blocking there by our man, Eddie Wallace. Going through these three guys who are dicing furiously to the lead in SRP2.
Half an hour of racing left. Field hoping to use one of the slower cars as a pick, but he's now trapped behind the 21 car.
The 21 car not wanting to give up any ground here because the 22 car is right behind him and right in front of him.
Whoa! Field loses it. Off track big time for John Field. Stalls the race car.
I don't think he hit anything though. But of course they're awful pigs to start when they spin them, when you stall them at high speed like that.
Did not get the clutch in time, evidently. Now gets it refired. Hopefully he'll be able to spin that car around and get it up on the speedway. As we take a look at Field working the wheel and the shifter. And now he has perhaps put a lot of debris on those very hot, slick tires.
Yeah, it'll stick like, well, it'll stick very much to that hot tire, like dirt does.
On board the Banana Joe's Lola Judd through the right-hander and up the backstretch. Let's take another look at what happened. Field trapped behind that prototype 2 and just got on the gas a little too quickly, I think.
Yeah, and just got up onto the dirt. As I say, he didn't hit anything, luckily, but as you said, he now have a lot of mud and dust on those tires, which will take about a lap to rub it off again. So he has to be a bit careful on this lap, his first lap out.
So John Field, after getting a great start at the second drop of the green for the second twin sprint, grabbing third spot, almost getting second a couple of times, finds himself back and forth after 18 laps. Here at Lime Rock Park, John Field has had an interesting last couple of laps after a great charge to third at the drop of the green, going for second here against Andy Wallace. Wallace chopped him off, gave him no room to run. Field frustrated, I think, David, got on the gas a little too quickly through the left-hand part of the racetrack there, went off course, stalled the car, lost a lot of time getting it refired. He is back in fourth spot, downstairs to Guy Hobbs.
Yeah, we're down here with Martin Dixon. Martin, you saw the incident, and obviously you've spoken to John. He looked at the car, he went out over pit wall, the car looks okay, you're not going to bring him in?
No, everything looks fine out there, but he was complaining a little bit of a handling problem, but maybe there's something sort of just right there, but nothing's fallen off, we'll just keep running down till the end.
Did he say anything to you as to how come he went off in the first place?
I think he was challenging hard. I mean, the only place he could get him is in the corners. He was complaining of a little bit of lack of front line speed, so he was trying his hardest to get past him in the corners, and I think he just overcooked the braking. That's all I heard from him, really, so see what happens.
All right, thank you very much. Back up to you guys.
Meantime, the other car in the Banana Joe's Intersport team, the 28, being driven by John Miro with a problem. He is going to bring that car onto pit road for some attention by the Intersport crew. Miro with a problem just a moment ago, off speed as he came up the back part of the track. And David, looks like he got off the racetrack. Let's show you exactly what happened here.
Up at the chicane.
Missed it.
Some grass cutting there, and of course you have to come in after an incident like that. He was being lapped by that fast running train of cars, tried to get out of the way, got a little bit too wide, but of course you've got to come in and make sure that all the air vents are all cleaned up, otherwise the thing will overheat in a heartbeat.
So the 28 car with Miro driving will now come back onto the racetrack. They've fallen all the way back to 10th. Now, while we were away just a moment ago, Jack Baldwin in the 74 Ranch Resort car had a problem. Baldwin had to stop that machine. Remember, George Robinson had trouble in the first of the twin sprints today with a broken steering arm after an off-course excursion. And apparently the problem was that Jack's seatbelt shoulder harness had come adrift. They had to stop and cinch him back up.
Oh boy, well, one of those things you want to make sure your seatbelt's done up.
Tough break for Jack Baldwin. He had come from 10th to 5th, and he is back to 5th now after that brief pit stop to re-secure the seatbelts. You're riding with Didier Taze in Kevin Doran's 27 car, Ferrari chassis, Judd motor, or listed Doran Racing. Tays running quickly now. We thought for a moment they might have some sort of problem with the dashboard. It seemed to be bouncing around a little. This track very rough, as we have documented a couple of times today, but things appear to be okay now.
Didier was making some adjustments to something there on the bottom row of switches. It could be an electronic brake, the bias changer. It could be a mixture changer for the motor. Unlikely to be changing the mixture in such a short race. Back on board now with John Field. Of course, he's rushing back up through the field.
40 seconds back, showing 1 lap down to the leader, Butch Leitzinger, closing in on one of the Prototype 2 machines. That's been a good battle all day in Prototype 2. The 21 and 22 cars from the Archangel team, the 89 from Porsche House, and that is the 89 car directly in front of John Field. We'll see if Field can make a move here.
Boy, he's having a trouble, isn't he? Those SRP2 cars, see, they're very quick through the turns. Initially quick up there. Of course, the bigger engine in John Field's car should get him by on this straight. But you see, that SRP2 car is very quick off the diving turn. He's going to have a job to get him even now, because the SRP2 will be able to brake late. Not as late as John.
Field using the big brakes on that 37 car, that Lola chassis, to dive to the inside. John Miro was still with a problem in the 28. He remains on pit road.
Welcome back to Line Ride Park. We're in second of the twins, and the John Field entry 37 has just been pulled into the pits. John Field's just climbed out of the car. Of course, he had that nasty moment out on track, but since then he's had a problem with his jet engine, and now we're going to get a word with John as he makes his way over here. John obviously not looking very happy, and we'll get a word here with John. Obviously the motor shut off when he came in. First of all, John, tell us about that little moment you had out there in the left-hander.
Right from the beginning, we didn't have any power. We lost a cylinder. So I was quicker than Andy back there, and I'm basically just overdriving it to try to get around him. I had a run on him here, and he moved over and hit me, but no big deal, no harm done. But we just didn't have any power. You can see down straight, I'd get a run on him. So right from the first lap, we had no power. That finally just...
It's just done, and that's the end of that day. But
the middle high's another race.
It looked like you were going to have a good run, because you had some good runs where you were drafting him down the straightaway here, but then you came up on some of those SRP2 cars.
There was just no power. I mean, the runs I had on Andy, I should have easily got around him. We were much quicker under braking in the corners, and then when I spun it, I was just overdriving it, basically. I mean, trying to get something that wasn't there. So.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks at Mid-Ohio. John Field decided he was probably trying a little too hard, and probably safe to be parked on the pit lane.
Meantime, we watch a battle in Prototype 2 between the 22 and the 89. Bruno St. Jacques in the 89 car getting passed there by Mike Durant in the 22 car. That is for second in Prototype 2. Andy Lally is leading that 3-car battle by a good margin right now, by nearly 5 seconds, as we watch his teammate move into second spot in the Prototype 2 category.
So Bruno St. Jacques was leading that trio pretty comfortably earlier on. Well, not comfortably, but it was he was certainly in the lead, and he's gradually got himself shuffled to the back of this trio.
Now, if you're not familiar with the difference between the two categories of cars, here's what a Prototype 2 is all about. A little bit downsized from the big bore prototypes, the Dyson cars, the Doran machine, the 74 car, and so forth. They're purpose-built race cars, but with a V6 and no turbos, steel brakes rather than carbon, and flat bottoms, not much in the way of ground effects.
And they have to have steel brakes, no carbon brakes. The minimum weight there is nearly 1,600 pounds. They are cheaper, of course, than their big brothers. The big brothers can have smaller engines with turbos, or they can have the big V8s. And they obviously use more fuel, they weigh more, and they are faster cars. But these SRP, most of the chassis are Lolas, and most of the engines are Nissan V6s. So it's a good, cost-effective way to have some fun on the racetrack.
It has been a difficult day for the 74 Ranch Resort team. Jack Baldwin driving now. George Robinson drove in the first race. He started toward the front, spun off the track early, broke a steering arm. They pitted for a long session of repairs, got him back on the racetrack, but still finished 10th. Baldwin started at the back of the pack, came to 5th in the 74 car. He's had to pit twice because his seat belts have come unlatched. And now we're hearing they may have a brake problem in the 74. Here's the statistical package that defines a prototype machine as Baldwin catches up to Cizinal in the 78 car. These, of course, purpose-built open cockpit cars as well with a full withdrawal loop. And there's the engine rule, a 4-liter turbo or a 6-liter with no turbos allowed. 1,985, say 2,000 pounds, the minimum weight. Steel brakes here, too, and a flat-bottom race car.
Not a lot of help from aerodynamics under the chassis on these cars. All the aerodynamics have to be gained by the air that flows over the top of the chassis.
So Baldwin 7th overall now, getting by the 78 car for position. And he's hoping to pick up a few more spots before the checkered flag falls. It's still Butch Leitzinger's to lose here at Lime Rock Park. We turn back the hands of time for you here at Lime Rock Park on Memorial Day weekend 7 years ago. Eliseo Salazar spent Memorial Day weekend in the Momo Ferrari on the pole in '94, but James Weaver wouldn't have let him stay there long, and Rob Dyson 16. 20 minutes in, Salazar loses the battle with Weaver, spins. Brake problems, though, would keep the Dyson cars from fully capitalizing. Having to stop on pit road, the new leader, Mauro Baldi, he would go off at turn 1 in another Ferrari. That made way for Jake Cochran and the Snap-on Tools Ferrari to take over. Giampiero Moretti took over his car, the Momo 30. After Salazar battled back, he would eventually take the checkered flag first at Lime Rock 7 years ago. Salazar grabbed 7th at Indianapolis yesterday, the first of the Indy Racing League regulars. We'll recap that and the action here from Lime Rock, a special edition of Speed Vision News Race Week tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, only here on Speed Vision. Plenty of action in Prototype 2 in the second event of our twin sprints here at Lime Rock Park. For Prototype 2, the battling between the Archangel machine and the 89 from Porsche House Racing. Here comes Bruno St. Jacques getting by the 22 car. Mike Duran for second spot in that 3-car battle. The leader continues to be Andy Lally in the 21. The 22 of Mike Duran now second, or actually third, because Bruno St. Jacques has gotten by him in this race within a race in SRP2. And we understand that just to kind of cap things off this weekend, we're seeing a few raindrops around the racetrack, Guy Hobbs.
Yeah, we're just beginning to start feeling our first raindrops. Kevin Durant just gave the order to get the wet weather tyres ready over the wall here in case it starts to come down a little heavier. With only 14 minutes left in the race, so unless it's a big downpour, I don't think we're going to need them. But the interesting thing is, this morning in the warm-up, the only car that went out on wet weather tyres in dry conditions was the Kevin Durant Lister entry. They were the only ones that went out and scrubbed in some wet weather tyres. And they, of course, run on the Yokohamas. Everybody else is on the Goodyears. It may be interesting, but I don't think we're going to get enough rain to actually have to get the wet weather tyres on.
Didier Tays, though, probably hoping someone's doing a rain dance here in Northwest Connecticut.
I don't know. At this stage to go 14 minutes, the pit stop better be perfect.
On board with Tays, he remains third behind Leitzinger and Andy Wallace in the 2 Dyson cars. Check in with Grand Am race director Mark Raffoff in race control. Mark, you told us right before the drop of the green that we were in a dry trough here and there was rain around Lime Rock Park, but evidently that rain has come a little closer.
Yeah, it's definitely straddling us both on the south side and the north side, and there might be a little bit of misting between the two, and that's what's kind of sliding over us right now.
So the teams could face an even greater challenge here in the last 12 or 13 minutes.
Correct. Could rain a little bit as we get to the end of this, definitely.
All right, thanks for the update, Mark Raffoff, the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series race director. Didier Tays at the wheel. And David, as we look at Didier's information here on the left side of the screen, had a great victory here in 1999, a spin and win, second in the points in Grand American last year, former Indy Lights champ and raced in kart for many seasons. Watching his hands work the wheel of this Ferrari, I'm thinking that car may have a little push. He seems to be really yanking the wheel.
Well, of course, they made that change to the car, as Guy said. They softened it up a little bit, and it was quick. Mauro Baldi was saying the car's a little bit quicker than when he was driving it in the first stint, but he still can't get around Andy Wallace. But he's obviously, as the race has worn on, maybe his handling's got away a little bit, because he certainly is, as you see him going to turn 1 there, he has got some push coming in there. And it's obviously transposing to oversteer on the way out, because he's having to make some pretty quick corrections there with the wheel.
Tays riding third overall in the second of the twin sprints. Check back in on the Prototype 2 battle here. The 89 car of St. Jacques ahead of the 22 with Mike Duran driving. That's for second spot in Prototype 2. Andy Lally is leading the Prototype 2 standings in the Archangel 21 machine. Lally at the moment about 4 seconds to the good over Bruno St. Jacques in the 89 car. And behind him there's the 22. The other Archangel machine sitting third. As these 2 cars battle out of the chicane. Duran third in the class, but he's gained 3 spots from the start. I'll show you the overall standings in the top left of your screen. And we're hearing from some of our cameras located around the track here at Lime Rock Park that the rain may be picking up just a little bit.
Boy, this is a driver's nightmare, because now the track has got some rubber and oil on it. and just a bit of a light drizzle at this stage is going to make it absolutely as slippery as, well, very slippery indeed.
11 minutes of racing left today here at Lime Rock. Memorial Day Monday, the twin sprints for the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series at Lime Rock Park. Butch Leitzinger, Andy Wallace, run 1 and 2. We'll be back. Back at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut, I'm Rick Benjamin with David Hobbs, Sandy Hain, Guy Hobbs on pit road for our coverage of the Grand Am Twin Sprints today from Lime Rock Park. And the rain is starting to fall. It's been a very, very wet weekend. We've had sunny weather for the most part today as we ride with Didier Tace, who is 3rd overall in Kevin Doran's Lista Ferrari. David Hobbs, does the rain help this team out as they try to catch up here in the waning moments?
I don't think so, because I think the Ford engine cars of Dyson Racing probably carrying just a little bit more downforce than the 27 car anyway, because they've got more horsepower. And of course, at a time like this, you want all the downforce you can possibly generate. A driver at this stage is looking anxiously at the sky, doing his own sort of weather forecasting. A bit of drizzle this late on in such a short race, you're going to tough it out. If you suddenly have a major shower that sweeps across the whole circuit, obviously that's a completely different thing. You'd have to stop and change tires. If you have a shower that sweeps across one end of the track, or a few hundred yards of it, again, you'd tough that out as well. So it's one of those things you've got to really work out, and of course see where you are compared to everybody else. If you're visibly losing ground to the other guy, you know it's the car and that you can only improve it by changing tires. But at this stage in the race, that'll be a major gamble to take.
I guess you'd say it's sprinkling around the racetrack, not raining hard yet. Now Taze's team, the only ones with scrubbed in rain tires, so they're hoping it does rain. Meantime, in Prototype 2, battle for the lead taking shape. Bruno St. Jacques has caught up to Andy Lally in the 21 car. They're nose to tail. They're less than a second apart. St. Jacques is a quick driver, David.
Now St. Jacques, you see, for instance, in this drizzle period here, has made a lot of ground on Andy Lally, and he's obviously, his car's maybe set up a little bit differently. It may be a bit softer, which is maybe why it's not going quite so well in the dry. It may be that the rain just suits him a little bit, and maybe he's not quite as, maybe he's a little bit more confident in the rain, but whatever it is, he's really eating into Andy Lally's lead here.
This is for the lead in Prototype 2. Lally in the 21, St. Jacques in the 89. He is 5th overall right now. Lally is 4th in the 21 car. They are laps behind the leaders in Prototype, however. Laps winding down here. About 8 minutes of racing remain, which should be 8 or 9 laps. Not much time left for these drivers to make a move.
Tucking on into the draft there. You can see the rain on that camera down at the Big Bend. Lally's car sliding a bit there. This is one of those sort of times when the track is absolutely at its worst. Just greased up enough to be slippery, and you've got to be careful. Obviously, you can find yourself flying off the road real easy. Lally seems to have spotted him there now and has responded to the challenge, pulled out just a little bit more of a lead.
Pretty common in motorsports. This is also a battle between tire makers. The Archangel team, the 21, the 22, they ride on Avon tires. While St. Jacques and the Porsche House bunch, they use Goodyears. Adds a little spice to that battle indeed. Lally's still able to hang on, and now he's opened it back up a couple of car lengths over St. Jacques.
He's definitely pulled out some time there. Of course, very often too, you know, when it just gets damp, a warm slick or a hot slick tire will still have pretty good grip. I remember Ayrton Senna leading the Canadian Grand Prix in what could only be called almost downpour conditions, and he stayed out and was still leading the race. Unfortunately, he had an engine problem near the end, so it can be done, but it's not to be recommended for the unless you're somewhat of the driver of Senna.
You can see the gap between the top 2 cars in Prototype 2. St. Jacques hung a wheel off the racetrack there for a moment. Lally was 4 tenths ahead, last time by 9 tenths ahead, so he's added about half a second to the lead, coming to the stripe, and you can see how much quicker those cars were than the Prototype, the 37 car with John Miro driving. He had to move over and let these two go.
Yeah, the sun, of course, is out again now. You can see the shadow, so maybe the rain has lessened just a little bit, which is playing into the hands of Andy Lally in the 21 car.
Down into turn 1 here at Lime Rock. Here comes the other Prototype 2 of the field, the 22 car, Mike Durant. He is 3rd. He'll lap by the Banana Joe's car, 28. 9th spot. John Miro driving that car, the 37. John Field, you heard from him earlier. Very quick, had gotten that car up to 3rd, but they dropped a cylinder, they believe, right at the start, and then the engine let go about 10 minutes ago. Prototype 2 battle, the best on the racetrack right now. Butch Leitzinger long gone in the 16 car. Andy Wallace is 2nd. 3rd with Didier Taze on board Kevin Doran's machine. Down under the Barber Bridge to the front stretch.
I must say, if John Field's car was down a cylinder, he was doing a pretty good job. It didn't look like it was down a cylinder to me. It's obviously not as powerful, I don't think, as the Fords, but it was pretty close.
St. Jacques trying hard to close in on Andy Lally. Problems for Edwards as you now. Meantime, your 2nd place car, Andy Wallace, blows by the 78 in trouble. Taze now starting to reel in the 20 car once again. Gap is about 1.5 seconds as we climb on board the 27 car.
Didier Taze and Andy Wallace extremely experienced. You saw that Didier Taze has done a bit of everything, including the Indy 500 and kart seasons. Indy Lights champion. Very experienced driver.
5 laps to go for the leaders this time by. 5 to go here at Lime Rock as we watch the battle for 2nd. Thinking about John Field's situation, said he was down a cylinder. You commented how quick he was. He went off course, had trouble refiring the car, and then the engine gave up right after. Could he have damaged the motor in that spin?
Probably not, but it loaded it up, I think, which is why it was difficult to start. You can damage them, of course, when you spin off like that, if you leave the clutch out and the thing tries to go backwards, but I don't think that happened.
Watching Taze, they climb the hill on the back part of the racetrack here at Lime Rock Park through the chicane.
Andy Wallace at this stage saying, okay, Didier, you're catching me up and all that, but there's only 4 laps to go here at Lime Rock. If you think you're getting around me.
That Prototype 2 battle we've been watching for you. Andy Lally from Northport, New York, leading that 3-car duel. Feeling a little bit of pressure from Bruno St. Jacques. Just knocked off his best lap of the race at 53.1, which is very quick in those V6 machines.
104-mile-an-hour lap. That's pretty quick.
As we check back in on that battle for Prototype 2 dominance, Lally in the 21, St. Jacques though right on his deck.
He is. He's definitely getting a good draft as he goes down here into Big Bend. Andy Lally, of course, is going to take the inside line and make him work for it, go around the outside, which he knows is going to be very difficult.
Battling for the top spot in Prototype 2, all important, the points battle in this division of Grand Am competition. Lally is 4th, St. Jacques is 5th, Durand is 6th overall. Sandy Heng, you're watching that Prototype 2 battle from your perch on pit road. What are you hearing down there?
Well, actually, Andy did turn his fastest lap of the race just this last lap, and his team is talking to him on the radio. They say, you can do it, you can hold him back there, you can hold him back there. They're coaching him every step of the way. They think they can hold Bruno behind them.
St. Jacques, though, awfully quick, David, through this downhill section and onto the front straightaway.
He's very quick, and that's such an important corner here because it gets you right under the guy's wing, and with any luck, you can draft him into turn 1.
Mike Johnson of Archangel Motorsports, team owner, team manager, watching his driver, Andy Lally, talking to him on the radio.
Talking to him. If you let him pass at this stage, you're chopped liver, sonny.
St. Jacques there, you see the time split, more than a second, although he is less than a second behind. Up toward one of the right-hand kinks, the zigzag, they call it, up the hill here at Lime Rock, through the chicane. And battle for Prototype 2. Meantime, we check in on the race for 2nd overall. Didier Taze chasing Andy Wallace. Taze still several car lengths back. Guy Hobbs watching the Prototype battle for 2nd spot on pit road. Guy, what are you hearing about this?
Well, I just checked in on some times for Andy. The first 10 laps of this race, he did 51s. Then in the middle of the race, he had a couple of 53s and 54s. Now he's back to running 51s. But the last lap, he had an MT, which means no time. I asked why they had no time on it. The guy doing the timing score, he said, well, I missed the wrong button on the stopwatch. They're not concerned about it. The white flag is out. Andy Wallace has got 2nd place covered over Didier Taze.
Butch Leitzinger out in front in the 16 car. Wallace in the 20. The other Rob Dyson machine rides 2nd. Here's your leader. Haven't seen much of Butch Leitzinger because he frankly put that car into the wind and said, see ya, once the green flag came out.
Well, there was so much good racing going on behind him. We didn't really need to look at Butch Leitzinger going off on his own there. He has done it. Both he and his teammate James Weaver, who drove the 16 in the first sprint, quite clearly the quickest guys in the field. The 16 car obviously got just a little bit of an edge over the 20 car.
Butch Leitzinger at the throttle looking for a sweep here at Lime Rock Park. Checkered flag is in the air at Lime Rock, and Leitzinger comes home the winner in the second heat here today. Team owner Rob Dyson says, well done. That Lozano Brothers Ford motor behind Leitzinger. Check the battle here for second spot. On board Didier Taze can barely see Andy Wallace. Taze will ride home third in the Lista Ferrari. With the Judd motor, there's Leitzinger gone. Wallace home in second. Taze will checker in third spot.
Well, Didier said he didn't like the format, didn't he, earlier on?
He expected that result and got it. The battle for Prototype 2 dominance. Coming to the checkered flag, the 21 of Lally, the 89 of St. Jacques. Lally has to keep it together for just another portion of a lap here at Lime Rock. Final corner. Down the front straightaway, St. Jacques will press him hard, but Andy Lally will take the win in Prototype 2 today here at Lime Rock. So Lally comes home fourth, St. Jacques is fifth, Duran gets sixth, Jack Baldwin checkers in seventh spot at Lime Rock. We'll be back to talk to the winners in a moment. Welcome back to Lime Rock Park. Coverage of the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series here on Speed Vision. The Twin Sprints on Memorial Day Monday complete. A dominant run for the 16 car and the Rob Dyson team to Guy Hobbs.
It was so easy that Butch just turned down the wet towel and didn't need it for the refresh. Butch, great race. Obviously you started right up front, but you disappeared pretty quick.
Well, it was great, actually. James set up the car really well. After he came in from his race, he actually made a couple tire pressure adjustments, and from there, the car worked great. I think we had great advantage by the team having so many laps here. We were able to get the car set up in the little time that we had in practice.
Dyson does the double here today, but gets the second win of the year for you guys too.
Yeah, it's nice. We're finally starting to get some wins in that column, and James has a pretty good lead in the championship now, which is what it's about.
Sounds like the weekend at the farm, just up the road at Rob's farm, paid off. A good weekend for Rob Dyson. They get their second win of the championship, with 2 wins here, doing the double. Back to you, Rick.
James Weaver, Butch Leitzinger split the 2 wins here today in the Twin Sprints at Lime Rock Park. Great battle in Prototype 2. We will talk to the winner of that category in just a moment when we come back to Lime Rock. Back at Lime Rock, the rain has gone away. Good victory today in Prototype 2 for the Archangel Racing team. Here's Sandy Hay.
Well, here's Andy Lally. What a race. You were turning your fastest laps of the race right there at the end. You must have seen Bruno in your mirror.
I saw him, and Mikey from Archangel came on board, and he said, pick it up because Bruno's coming. And I saw some sprinkles on my visor. I knew Bruno's fast in the wet, so I knew I had to pick it up to keep him behind me. But he raced me clean the whole race. We had a good, close race. It was the best race we've done all year.
A great race, and Andy Lally hangs on to the points lead. Bruno, you were trying hard. You were about a second behind him.
Yeah, I know. I tried the hardest I could, but, because we had almost no time before the race in the dry, I had to pick up the pace in the race. But I went a lot quicker than this morning in the practice. I tried everything I could, but, I just missed it by not much. But it was a good, clean race, and I hope the fan enjoyed it.
What were you thinking right before you crossed the finish line? You gave it everything.
Yeah, I gave everything. I'm happy to finish second, but, I was pushing to finish first. So, but, the championship is still close, and it's not over yet.
Okay, let's go down to Guy Hobbs with Andy Wallace.
Thank you. Andy Lally, of course, a great racing name, and Andy Wallace, one of the best racing names. But Andy, any concerns about Didier towards the end there?
Well, I thought it was quite an exciting race. My cause wasn't helped too much by the fact that I was having some problems with the brake pedal going to the floor. So in order not to crash, I was having to pump up the brake with my left foot, and then just as I got to the corner, just swap feet, and then it would slow down perfectly. So I don't know...
Well, you've been known as a bit of a dancer anyway, so that's no problem for you, right?
Yeah, well, I got 2 left feet, actually, so it wasn't too easy, but it was okay. I could see Didier was catching, but as long as I kept pumping the brake up, I had enough brakes to stop, so it was fine. But I want to say thank you to Rob Dyson and the whole Dyson Racing team. We've had a great weekend. This is the local track for the team, and it's really good to be a part of that.
All right, we'll see you at Mid-Ohio. Back to the booth.
Great run for Andy Wallace with brakes failing in that 20 car. That adds a little bit of luster to his drive to second today.
I've had to do that a few times, the old left foot braking trick, because these days a lot of these guys brake with their left foot anybody. I could never get used to that, but I could pump it a bit with my left foot.
Take a look at the final rundown here after the Lime Rock Park Grand Prix. The Twin Sprints today. Leitzinger and Weaver win their respective events. Wallace and EFR come home second twice. Taze and Baldy. Andy Lally finishes in fourth ahead of Bruno St. Jacques. Mike Duran, Jack Baldwin seventh. Patrice Roussel and John Miro and Joe Field rounding out the top 10. At Battle in Prototype 2, Sandy Heng talked to the two protagonists there, Andy Lally and St. Jacques. Coming in, Lally leading the point standings by just 2, so he adds to his advantage by a couple of points as we get ready to take on Mid-Ohio in just a couple of weeks. And it should be a great championship battle all the way.
I think so. We'd look for more from George Robertson and Jack Baldwin there. They had a crummy weekend one way or another. They didn't have much luck 2 weeks ago in Watkins Glen either, so hopefully their luck will change by Mid-Ohio.
They hope to have their new Riley and Scott chassis out for that event with their Judd motor and improved gearbox setup, they tell us, and better brakes as well. Our coverage of the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series continues, of course. The Mid-Ohio Sports Car Grand Prix comes up in a couple of weeks. The coverage here on Speed Vision, Sunday the 24th of June at noon Eastern Time. David Hobbs, thanks so much. Pleasure to have you alongside today. Good battle in both of these heats today.
It was a tremendous battle in all the heats. The 16 car obviously had a bit of an advantage over the 20 car, and that could have been it right there with the brakes. This was very unfortunate for George Robertson early on when he hit the barrier there and broke the steering arm on his car. John Field actually drove brilliantly until he had that little off there at the left-hander. The 21 car here in the first heat with Paul Macy at the wheel had a pretty scary drive, but Andy Lally was really going well.
Great afternoon of racing. Hope you enjoyed our coverage here on Speed Vision. For Guy Hobbs and Sandy Heng and David Hobbs, I'm Rick Benjamin. Our congratulations to James Weaver and Butch Leitzinger, who sweep the action here at Lime Rock Park in the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series Prototype action. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time on Speed Vision.